Yeah, no, I mean, I think we'll be fine. We have no shortage of
And
things
there's
to talk
always,
about.
yeah, there's always a lot of things to talk about.
Oh
Especially
yeah,
now when everyone's so fucking outraged. I'm not anymore, but well, at least we're.
we've been well, what number is this podcast? I don't even, Jesus Christ, I have no idea. Just gonna assume we're in the 50s, but I don't think that's right.
I think it's 8, but I'm not sure.
This is, it's actually number 9, Manny.
Number 9, yeah.
Number 9, special podcast.
999.
Okay, so yeah, loosely I put out the feeler questions for like Q&A stuff. I think I wrote in that post about I said we'll be covering Uber Pinnacle bossing, because I know we've all been doing a fair amount of that, and even just been doing some lab stuff like generic endgame farming, and then we could obviously briefly touch on the Gucci Hobo thing a little bit, because we just had that. It's technically still going on, I think, for today and tomorrow, but I've pretty much done all I wanted to do.
I think it even goes to Tuesday, doesn't it?
It
like
might,
10 days
depending
usually?
on the time zone. Yeah, 10 days. I guess that makes sense. 10 days legally. But yeah, so what do you want to start? I mean, I guess we could start with, what was it the last thing we were doing? Well, I guess the last thing I remember us in general was myself, Legi, and EZTrickShots doing a lab a couple days ago, which was, it was a very good layout. So we all started doing tributes. I don't remember why it happened, but it was just 3 silver chests. Let's do some tributes. I think it's because I saw Easy doing lab, and I got jealous of his number of uniques encroaching onto mine slightly, and that was that.
It is a friendly it is a good friendly banter back and forth, right? Because like I see yours going up, it's like, man, now I got to get in there.
The one day that I saw you do it, I got like 5 new uniques that day. Every time I got one, I would just yell "fuck you, Easy" in stream.
Love it.
Yeah, it was so the lab introduced all those grand spectrums. I guess I'll pull them up in general. It's kind of a little micro shit show, because they took the so grand spectrums have changed a lot realistically over the years. There was initial versions that were changed, and they were limit to 3, and then now there's 9, and they're locked strictly behind lab. I don't think there's any div cards for them.
No.
Did I know? No. Okay. So
No way to get them outside of lab.
yeah, and by far the easiest way from what I've seen is Tribute of the Goddess doing the silver chest, and if you're not on Tribute, it's just the end chest. Seems to be the ones that's been my experience.
It follows the same rules as lab uniques did before.
Yeah.
They replaced actually they deleted like 5 or 6 lab uniques in this patch.
Which was strange. I don't really know why, because they were deleting uniques.
To make room for them, I suppose.
I'm sure.
Deleted to
Yeah.
make room for the grand spectrums. I like the grand spectrum idea a lot. Like
Oh,
an
yeah.
identity for lab farming. I like it a lot. But
They're good.
It could be a bit more common for SSF, but what can you do?
They're definitely good. The ones that are the charge ones seem to be more rare. I would assume the frenzy one is the one that's, I guess, maybe the most desired. The endurance one's
Like
really
charges
good.
and life are the
Yeah.
rare ones.
Life one's nice, 5% per. So the way that they work, and for those who just don't know or can't read, I guess, or it's each of their effects are cumulative for each of the grand spectrum. So if you had 3 or 1 frenzy, 1 power, 1 endurance grand spectrum, you would get +3 of all minimum.
It pretty much means you want to use a set of 3 of them, and you can choose
Correct.
whatever 3 you want, really.
Different ones.
To
different ones.
customize it for your build, but
Yeah.
you
Although
pretty much always want to use 3.
you technically could use a couple of the same, although I don't think they're. Some of the double ups get a little weird. Like
The avoid element is really good.
that's
You
the one
can
I'm
use 3 of those to be
highlighting
enemy.
right now. That's the one because that's definitely the one that probably stacks the best, I guess. I mean, life is not bad either. Like 1 frenzy, 2 lives is probably fine as well.
I mean, there was a lot of interesting setups in trading setting. Like, for example, people were using that triple frenzy one to use it with like Barge of the Brotherhood. So there are definitely applications.
Yeah, +9 because
of that.
you just get the problem with for those the minimum is the kind of annoying part, unless you could somehow bypass the fact that you have a minimum, which in the way your Badge of the Brotherhood is a great way to do that because it matches your minimum to the maximum of what would be, or vice versa for this modifier overrides plus or minus maximum frenzy equal to your power. So if you have +9 power, the 9 minimum frenzy would just be you always have 9 frenzies, which is a lot of frenzies to just have walking around.
It's really good for the badge setup because even with the frenzy on hit chest, it took quite a while to ramp up those like 9 or 10 charges sometimes.
Yeah, badge. I would say badge kind of has been falling off, but badge is really adding like Ashes, Omni. Now you get like even like Lake amulets. It's kind of a little bit not as good as it used to be.
Yeah,
I think the price reflects
story
that.
of PoE, right?
Well, yeah.
It's fall out of favor because there's better options.
There are some uniques that just really have been holding value. I mean, Asenath I feel like is still super strong, but it definitely like tanked in its whatever its rarity is definitely way more common. And
Yeah,
like
it's
the
super common
trade
compared to
league
before.
prices reflected it also. But yeah, the grand spectrums are pretty cool. So we've I think the general consensus is if it's a good day for silver chests, you run tribute. Otherwise, you just kind of blow past and then just farm the end chests on normal days, right?
Pretty
Yeah,
much that's
there
the
was-
consensus, exactly.
There was a post on Reddit like many weeks ago, actually, like pretty early in the league, of a guy running 700 normal labs. God
Yep.
bless him. It looks like the drop rate of those jewels is exactly very close to 1% per treasure key that you have. So even on like a very fast normal lab run, it would take like an hour or two per jewel, and then oftentimes like they're weighted towards the bad ones. So it's a huge grind to get the good ones.
Yeah.
And so that 1 in 100, because I did miss that post, is with the like the 3 old Grand Spectrum jewels as well, or just the 6 new
Yeah,
ones?
any
It's
grand
just
spectrum.
hitting
Okay, gotcha.
and then I think once you're on the table, that's when the weighting takes over.
Gotcha.
And it seems like the old ones are the most common from what I've seen.
Yeah,
Isn't necessarily a bad thing because the elemental damage one is still quite good, I think. Maybe not so much
The
as
weighting-
the crit strike chance, but
I think it works like that the old ones are the most common, as you said,
Yeah.
and also the one that gives crit multi to minions is pretty common.
Yeah.
And then comes with the element avoidance one and the charges one are the hard ones to get, and obviously the life one is in the top echelons of waiting as well, unfortunately.
yeah. Sweet Azara's treasure. And then the Emperor jewels now are just the end of Enriched and Eternal Labs. Which also, funnily, so the Grand Spectrums, those dropped ID'd. The Emperor jewels don't. I don't know why, but they don't drop ID'd.
Not always. The Grand Spectrum can always drop unID'd.
Oh, can it?
Just drop from the chest, yeah.
Maybe it's because I got it from
Don't
a silver chest and it wasn't from the
Yeah,
end
Yeah,
chest.
it only drops ID'd when it's from the silver chest or like additional like reward type.
That checks out.
Trigger the goddess.
I'll believe you for
Yeah.
now.
I mean, I
if you
got that
found them in
unID'd
normal
one,
lab, they're always unID'd, for example.
Mm.
Yeah.
They can only be ID'd in tributes.
Oh, okay.
Then when they are ID'd, it dropped because it's a tribute.
Yeah.
It was a bonus thing from tribute.
Has anyone got any of the Emperors since they made the change?
Yeah. I think I had 1 or 2 of them since they made them normal drops.
Yeah.
Once I even got it while leveling a character.
That's kind of spicy.
They're definitely very rare, especially Mastery. Like, if we were starting our collection now, I think the hardest unique to get would be Empress Mastery. I would put my money on that as the last one to be found. We don't even know exactly how Empress Mastery drops. Like, if it's boosted by Tribute as well or not. We don't have, like, confirmed data on any of it.
That is, I get that question quite often, where it's like, Lighty, what's the drop rate of XYZ? Or, like, how common is this to occur? And it's not even just that, like, half the time I'm just all shoulders, like, I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. We have, loose anecdotal data. This guy farmed 1,000 here, this guy did 100 here. Which is kind of how we've been going about most of our numbers.
Yeah.
But this shit could change every league. Like, whatever those numbers are, we've seen them shift. We've felt them shift. We never told they're shifting, specifically, but
Asenath being a great example, right? Because
Yeah.
it was definitely and Badge of the Brotherhood too. I mean,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was one of the ones that I farmed for quite a while. again taking like a year off, but you know, whatever content could potentially drop it, you know, cards or whatever, never could find it. But I think since this patch, I've dropped like 3. So
even things like Primordial Chain was quite rare. Now that thing shits out everywhere. Like, there's a lot of things that some things could have dropped 2-3 tiers of uniques, but I mean, it's one of the, like, I'm not sure, it's like one of the bittersweet but also frustrating parts of Path is we just have so little information in a game based around information about a lot of things. It's the forever.
One of the most egregious examples also are like Barracks Respite and the Crit Amulet, the Uncle's Harmony. Those are like heavily shifted as well.
Yeah.
Like very common to very rare, and vice versa.
Even things like Gold Rim, like Gold Rim is substantially like super rare. Like a lot of those lower level uniques even got way more rare because the bases tend to show up less also in higher tier situations. So you're just like kind of getting double fucked on it. It may have shifted rarity and also the fact that the tier isn't, or the base isn't represented commonly, you know. But we got all those. Oh yeah, so I guess that's a good thing to transition into. Thanks, Legi. The new.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm welcome. No, you're welcome. Of the new uniques for leveling, have any of them really stood out to you? Because we just had the whole Gucci Hobo thing, which is all about uniques. You know, and a lot of them that were like maybe like there's a lot of people using Ghost Rides, for example, because it's just the power level of something like that's quite easy to farm out, but it's also super strong for like Inquisitors, etc. There's like other ones that are, you know, Thrill Steel was like super common, you know. Which was there any of those that you saw in Gucci Hobo that like surprised you or that were really performed super well? I saw some people using Bitter Dream and Replica Bitter Dream for like just 9 links running around, which was kind of cool.
For me,
I didn't really get any of that.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. But the one that I actually used quite a bit was Honor Home, which was the helmet that gives you +2 goal skills. And
it's also insanely common.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, Manni found that for me since we leveled together. But yeah, that one is very strong early on. For spellbooks, for example.
What does it have? It has +2 all gems, some all resist, and rarity, right? It's just so good for leveling.
Also Flood Lightning to spells and attacks. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like Prism Weave being buffed and Valkyries, which is really rare, but like if you can get that on your like second character, is super strong. Get like 5 levels, so let's say Spark or something like that.
Yeah.
Very good.
My mandatory leveling item for new characters is Death Rush. I always equip it as soon as I can. Because, you know, Adrenaline is just so powerful. It's like a second onslaught, essentially. And when you're leveling a build of leveling gear, like a second character, it's all about speed, right? Because the damage is there anyway when you have leveling items.
My favorite combo I've discovered from leveling, which is super sneaky, is the Rigwald Ring plus Facebreakers, which is a really interesting interaction that I didn't realize exists until someone informed me of it. But Rigwald's crest is that little piece of shit that summons wolves on kill, right? It's level 20. If you Val it and you get attributes as the implicit, it removes the required level totally. And the level 10 Spectral Wolves are basically as strong as level 55 mob. And for whatever reason, when you're using Facebreakers, the unarmed melee attacks damage scales up the damage of the wolves. So those little wolves are like one-shotting the Val like Act 2 boss and like will 2-tap Piety in Act 3. Like it's insane.
That's weird.
And it's also 100% chance to trigger on kill, and you get, I believe, 10 of them. So you're just running around with a pack of wolves that are literally one-shotting Act bosses up for like the first 6 acts, which has been like a really funny thing you could do. Yeah, I know that Easy, you've been playing a lot. You kind of took a little bit of a break. Have you had to level new characters? You've just been re-gearing stuff. How's that been for you, like getting all your shit up to date now?
It's been good. You know, I mean, mainly I've been farming, just magic finding on like Tornado Shot, right? So just, you know, 70 quant, Headhunter, you know, and just a big Fizzbow and just kind of running around. So, you know, that's kind of carried all the map stuff that I've been doing, primarily farming like strands and then, you know, again, trying to farm like Crimson Temple and stuff. I did have to re-gear my Heist Runner a little bit and change up some of that stuff, which I think I'm probably the only person doing a cold Viz conversion tornado shot Heist Runner with like 600 movement speed, but it's working. And then the new character that I built and actually got to use some of the new like Eldritch currency on was a lightning strike, and that's been a lot of fun. So actually getting to recraft some of that gear and interacting with the new harvest stuff, that's kind of what I've been using to do like uber bosses and then all my lab running and stuff, because before I only had like a ball lightning miner, so it could only carry so far. Again, as you can tell. Yeah,
it's old school.
yeah, as you can tell, like all my
1 year
gears were
ago,
kind of, that, and then like my deep delve Stormbrander. I mean, it's like literally, like hard stop like into a year ago. So yeah, it was pretty trash these days. But it's like all the gear is still like super strong. So just gotta
like
figure out a way to
harvest gear type stuff, kind of.
Just got to figure a way to like kind of rework that in. But as of right now, it's basically just been the tornado shot and then the lightning strike guy, and it's been a lot of fun to re-gear characters. But I had the base character, so I have not had to re-level yet. But yeah, as I think I was mentioning maybe right before we started the podcast, I've also been trying to farm stasis out, and I'm quite keen on not running 5 ways on a level 100 character, and I'm about to run out of characters to level to 100, so I might have to bite the bullet and get a witch, and level a witch up to be able to run some 5 ways with.
Yeah, I too have my ranger, which I think have you been using a specific build? 'Cause I just do the kinetic blast, like headhunter, that full. I mean, with the divergent KB with the fork, so it's like you one shot the entire 5 way with 1 attack and resetting. What build have you been running for your 5 ways, if not like one of the traditional ones?
Oh, just single headhunter, tornado shot. I mean, I've literally used that build for everything, and then so all the characters that have been like just leveling up to 100 is just farm or go straight to the same, tornado shot tree on the ranger side, and then just literally same build.
What?
No inspired learnings, no, nothing crazy. I don't think it's like a traditional 5-way build, but I mean, it still pumps out plus
I don't
10.
think inspired learning actually
They don't work
stacks
anymore.
with
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't work anymore? Okay.
Yeah. Headhunter, since the last 60 seconds, they're sharing the same buff pool. They don't replace Arch Nemesis mod, so it's honestly really, it's like it feels like, honestly, the build got buffed after everything's said and done, because you just freed up like 15 points in the tree.
Yeah. So I mean it's good, right? I mean, as long as it gets, it can kill the bosses in half a second, and it can still get. I know it's contingent to your screen resolution, right? But I mean, it always gets more than 5 bars, so I mean, it does its job, and it can get maximum boss kills.
There's like a fun thing you could do also with that. What is the fucking skill name? Temporal Rift.
Rift?
Yeah. Is that the one that resets you, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay.
You back where you were a couple
Yeah,
seconds
so you
ago.
could temporal. I haven't done it myself because I just didn't really feel necessary with the level of gear I have, but you can temporal rift yourself back to the reset section of a 5-way after clearing.
That's pretty cool.
There's some specific timing you have to do. Like, you might have to run increased duration or reduce, I can't remember which one it was, but you literally, like, make one loop around the circle, and then, like, you rift back to the same spot, and you just do that every 6 seconds. For 5 minutes straight until you just want to kill yourself. I will say that the 5-ways feel like the longest 5 minutes of my life every time I do one.
I guess I'm the old weird person. I think 5-ways are like the most fun content in the game. I just love them. I just love level 100s. I love just running around circles. I think it's relaxing. So I'm all about Team 5-ways. But quick shout out to Manni and Iron's Discord. When I started this journey of trying to farm stasis, I did not realize that you could run the sets with essentially 1 key.
Yeah.
And I was running full 5-way keys.
I saw that and I cried. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did like 6. So I mean, essentially like 36 runs that could have been 6 runs that could have potentially been 36 runs, right? So I'm, if you count those individually, it would be closer to 70 runs, but I count them as one, so I'm around like 43 runs in. So not nearly what the average should be, but yeah, definitely.
There's a
better
good
to
chance that using multiple is a higher chance to find it, though. But we don't really know for sure.
The
Sure,
problem
sure.
I think is from what I've seen when people who have done that is that the difficulty actually scales to a point where it starts to become like all those compounding less multipliers and more multipliers on life get really stringent, even with like max headhunter buffs and crazy legacy gear, to where it's like enemies are taking like 95% reduced damage and stuff like that at the Zenix of like when you're really pushing towards like that last minute.
They reach in like so much too, right? From
Oh yeah,
Karui
they
and-
end up with the Karui one gets to like 45% life regen a second, which sounds insane for like how could you kill a boss? This build can, like any of the ones that are doing this, that's their entire existence. So they can do it. It's just basically it's preventing a reset each run, which gets funny. But yeah, 5-way farming is definitely like a very specific thing, which leads me to an interesting question, and I guess you kind of answered in a way easy that, do you guys in general like to make specific builds for specific niche tasks, or is it more just like, if it's a prerequisite, like doing a 5-way might be required to make a build, and then everything else will be done on one character? And the reason I mention this is because I literally just this weekend, I had like 30 elders to kill, right? Normal elders. And I was like, I don't really want to do this because it's just annoying. So I literally made a golem character that literally I could walk into Elder and just tab out. And when I tab back in, I am dead and the loot's on the ground. Just so I could watch like TV while this is happening. But like I really enjoy making niche characters that serve a very specific purpose. Even if it's like probably the time spent making the character is probably more than I would have just done the task in itself. But yeah, do you get what like specific characters do you guys have for specific tasks? And Easy mentioned the heist one, for example.
Yeah, I have a heist runner as well. Because I was going to run a lot of heists this league. I figured it would pay off. Made like a very movement speed focused build, because that's all you need in heist. You don't have to kill any monsters, really.
You thought about doing the lightning warp thing? Where you like...
No, I was just stacking movement speed.
Where you lightning warp in the beginning and have it last 30 seconds and get to the end and then reset yourself?
That's a pretty cool tech, but I didn't bother with that. I wanted the build to be viable for lab as well, because that's kind of overlapping in terms of like what your character needs. Right?
Yeah.
Lab and heist is both just all about move speed, when we're talking about the lower level labs at least. So
Yeah,
just
pretty
made
much
a
the
really
same for
fast
me.
build.
I made a similar character last league and been using it this league to finish heist, same as Manni. So yeah, I think PoE always gravitates towards like specialized character. You're always gonna, use a character that does something very, very well and much better than other characters, and it's just more money in trade and less time in. And if you like trying to achieve goals and that stuff, for example.
Yeah, I do find myself pretty much having the same two characters now that I'd use for most tasks, where I'll have like a mapping character that does even lab or heist, which is the strength stacker, and then I'd just use Deathwitch for doing nothing but uber bosses. That's kind of what I've just been for.
Yeah,
the
that's
most part.
oftentimes how it ends up for me as well. I have like one bossing build that is just the only time I ever log in is when I have bosses to do, and then the other character for like all the mapping needs and the fun part of the game.
Yeah.
Making super specialized characters in SSF is oftentimes not worth, because like who's actually running like hundreds of hours of the same content in SSF, right?
That's the thing. You don't have the resources normally to burn,
Yeah, it's either standard or like people that play way too much, like Legi and me. So for the most part, like making super specialized bossing only or heist only build is oftentimes not worth it for most people. But when you do get the chance, it's fun.
So speaking of bossing in general, we've all been doing a fair amount of uber bossing. Have you?
Yeah, especially this league with the keys.
The keys, and then honestly, just I've been spending more time in standard because motivation to run lakes constantly is draining me. But yeah, I've pretty much spent all of my elder. Like, I've done probably 40-something Uber Pinnacle. What the fuck? What do you call it? Uber Elder? Uber Pinnacle Elder? What's it called now? The Uber... Uber.
It's officially Uber. I think in that
Uber
news
squared.
post as well.
Uber Squared Elder.
Yep.
Done about 40 of him and about 80 Shapers. I've not gotten any of the Uber drops. Have you been successful with your Uber farming in your endeavors?
I have been. Well, like, I've been super lucky on Shaper for some reason. Like, I've done a similar amount of that you just pointed out, actually. And I've been farming Uber Elder in League to to get watcher size like every league. And Shaper dropped me 3 keys within like 60 or 70 runs, which is kind of absurd because the drop rate is 1% at best.
Yeah.
So I got 3 of those keys, and I got 1 Maven key, but I think I did more than 100 Maven, so that's about fair.
Yeah,
The Shaper keys have been really lucky for me.
gotten
Didn't get any other keys. No
2
Cirrus
Maven
or
keys
anything else.
in about 60 Uber Mavens probably, which is above the drop rate. But I don't know, Maven keys, if you're not hitting it's kind of like the jeweler bust, I want to say, for that, because most of the other drops are just, not that they're the shiny ones that matter, but having extras don't matter, you know? Kind of
Yeah, I
feels
mean,
bad.
all of these, they don't really matter, right? They're just like a collection thing, really. They're like foil cards or something in trading card
Shiny-
games.
shiny
They don't really
Pokemon.
do anything.
Funny to add them, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky as well, I think. I mean, obviously my highlight of the league was the jewel from the first key that I got.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that was
probably
absurd.
A lot of people seen. Yeah, it was absolutely insane. But except that, I dropped 1 key from Shaper and 1 key from, actually, second key from Maven as well. That's about it, really. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of bossing, same as you guys. I think when I added everything up, it was around like 300 something bosses, or closer to 400, and it was 4 keys. So the math checks out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm maybe average or so in bossing. And I'm only doing specific of the Uber bosses. I got a quick funny story. So when I did break my return, I jumped in and I was completely unaware of the new Atlas tree, and so my buddy was trying to explain it. So I just rushed straight to Uber Maven. I don't know why. I just took those 2 like Uber Maven points because I needed to refill out my watchstones or whatever, and and so. All my old Ball Lightning Miner character, first thing I do is, like, when I played this game for like 1 year, is jump right into Uber Maven, and like the DJ just kept, like, I think I did it like 2nd or 3rd try, and I was like, man, why is this so hard? I didn't realize that, like, it was leaving all this degen on a ES character, and it was pretty rough, but got that done. But now I kind of fully understand the Atlas and whatnot. But I've dropped, for the bosses that I am running, I've dropped 2 of the Shaper keys as well. Because somehow I'm still trying to farm Eternity Shroud. I think I have a full tab of like Watcher's Eyes now, but like still have managed to avoid dropping the Eternity Shroud.
Yeah, that one's
It
rough.
happens, man. I just got a Doppelganger's Guys, a natural one to drop yesterday, and I think I've probably done hundreds of Mavens in general. So it's like sometimes those 2% just really fuck you. Like, they're really bad. You can get on the hard end of that, and it's just, it'd be going forever. I mean, that's why I'm not sure if maybe like the drop rate should be high. You were saying like you're an average boss killer, easy. You have to keep in mind, 99.9% of the players in this game will never touch this content, like in general. This is like, most people aren't even, like, if you did a poll of all, I think when they check the achievements compared to the launch players, it's like 95% don't even like kill regular Maven, like some atrocious amount like that. So
They haven't really added the real incentive for Uber bosses yet, because they added the keys this league, which are, I guess they're more fun for us than for most people. Probably, I think most people don't care about those.
No,
But they're about to add 1 extra unique that only drops from the Uber version of bosses from last league's race event.
yeah,
They've only done that so far for Uber Elder, which has some really cool
and
new
Shaper,
gloves.
yeah,
Yeah,
Well, the
this is
Shaper
over
one-
Elder, no.
Shaper
The
Jewel.
Uber Shaper one, yeah, it exists, but it's not from the contest, not from the
Oh,
race
okay,
event.
okay.
There's going to be another one added next league to every Uber boss but Uber Elder, because he already has one.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're all 2% drops probably. Odds are.
Well, we'll find out.
Do you
Yeah,
want?
They're going to be made by the racers who won the
racists?
The races.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to kind of play on that, that's so part of the reason also why I'm not really running the Uber Eldritch and the blue and red guy. I'm just saving those keys, right? Because I've got all the uniques from them, at least the blue one. So it's like, hey, why not stack up 50, 70, 100 keys, and then next patch, whenever there is a gated unique behind it, I'll be able to rush them whenever I need to.
I'm in a similar. So the only one I really feel like I could do endlessly is Shaper, because I think I have like 400 sets effectively. And I have like 2 quad tabs of just Shaper Guardians, and if I wanted to run, I could. But like I'm not running Cirrus. Like the massive thing is cool, but like it's a shit drop rate in general, and that fight is kind of AIDS. So I'd rather just save my Uber Cirruses than like not even touch them. And I just want to farm Maven. That's all I really want to do, because I just want to get Awakened Gems more than anything. I'm still missing so many, and there's so many there's a couple builds I really want to play that kind of need certain Awakened Gems. Like I really wanted to play Cold Reap, but playing with that, not having Awakened Cascade or Echo would feel probably, especially Cascade, because it changes the build.
Cascade is kind of mandatory. Yeah.
For those who don't know what the Cascade does, normally, I guess I could draw it. Well, I could just describe it. Your Cascade does 3 overlaps across your character in a line, and the Awakened version makes basically a diamond around you instead, in 4 points, which is like a huge difference.
Like a plus shape.
Yeah. And then, with that plus Intensify makes it kind of shrunk onto yourself when you're holding down right click. But that's I'd love to play the build, but without that, and then, the Awakened Gems drop rate's fantastic off of Uber Maven. It's probably like 60% or something, or maybe even higher. I don't even know what the exact number is,
but
it's high.
More often than not.
Yeah, you're definitely going to get it. It could be 75% easily. And so it feels like Maven's honestly the fight that it might take the longest just because of the phases, that or Shaper. But for me, it feels the most rewarding because there's multiple avenues of payout. You're always getting an elevated sextant. A third of the time you're going to get a conflict. You're going to get a unique, maybe a key, and then maybe you're going to get a good gem. So it's a lot of good things. But every time I do Uber Elder, it's either Gloves, Watcher's Eye, which is most of the time disappointing, or it's fuck you. And then doing Shaper is even worse. It's five mandatory minutes of running around to get nothing, almost always nothing. I feel like the secondary loot from a lot of these bosses needs a major overhaul, because the incentive's pretty abysmal. I mean, even the Eater Exarch, right? They got stuff. They have, whereas the Elder's currency is duplicated. It's almost 50-50 for exceptionals, right? Or 25% chance for an additional exceptional. So at least that's something. But
the question is, should we have more incentive to do the Ubers? Because if there's too much incentive, there's going to be no reason to not run the normal one.
I think we're already. I think you're already there in trade, because for Solo 7's
especially for Maven.
Yeah,
for Maven, even in SSF, I refuse to run normal Maven anymore because I want those sextants guaranteed and not only 50% of the time.
Yeah.
But for Exarch, Eta, and I want to say Cirrus, I feel like it's not that big of a deal to run a normal one. The loot is the difference is small.
Yeah.
Between Uber and non-Uber, but
now,
that might change next league when they add another unique idea.
Who knows next league? But if it's going to be the same cost of entry, which is the same key, the incentive to toggle on the difficulty should be present. That's kind of the whole point, I feel like, right? Otherwise,
Yeah, it's a weird balance, right? There has to be.
Yeah, I'm still pretty
I'm not a huge fan of the system in total.
No,
in general.
I think the Keystone thing is major fear of missing out for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is still, I feel just a little bad vibes, because it's just why would I, you said for Maven, every Maven you run that isn't Uber feels like a kind of little bit of a slap in the face, because it's just you know exactly what you're missing, especially if it's a guaranteed drop. So little sad times.
Yeah.
And then there's Cortex, which is legally an Uber fight.
Legally, yeah, it's really random. I don't know. I think they just wanted to test some ideas with acquisition of the access to the Uber bosses, compared to fragments, because some people don't like fragments, right? They toggle thing in.
I think invitations are better than fragments.
Yeah, if they would be a bit more guaranteed when it comes to like drop rates, then sure. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, like
It's the
the player agency of being able to like modify the fight difficulty wise, like kind of like doing like the feared versus if the feared was just four fragments versus us being able to craft it to 100 quant and then double the quant and double the difficulty, like that level of
exactly.
scaling, I feel like is really healthy. Because it's like also depends on the build. Because it's also going to change the silver. Like for me, if I'm playing Death Wish, I know I can't roll like ailment or something like that because it's like that's a no go. So I have to like think a little bit when it comes to crafting it and like spend current like investing into making it the best feared possible. Because especially for things like the invitations, the output's pretty high. Like the difference between a crafted one and a non-crafted one is like an entire Maven, right? So it's the incentive's pretty high to do a much more difficult version for the
invitations are pretty similar to the Keystone Uber bosses.
Yeah.
You can make it harder and you get significantly more loot, and you kind of feel like you should, and it feels bad not to do it. It's a bit of a problem, surely.
Yeah. Because it's like over twice,
Uber bosses
right?
are kind of different though. Like I think they introduced them not really to make them like insanely rewarding and like, but mostly incentivize to give people a challenge, more or less, instead of guaranteeing insane loot.
Yeah,
so I think that was the idea behind it.
That's the idea, but when they add another unique to it, that is going to be like the uniques they add next league to Uber series. Imagine if that Uber series unique is going to be some Omni level kind of unique, that is going to be super sought after and 100 divines. Nobody's ever going to run normal series again,
Yeah, that's definitely
that
true.
feels bad. But we'll see what those uniques are going to be. Maybe they make them niche enough that it doesn't matter.
It's kind of a
Maybe they're aware.
self-solving problem in trade because since it's the same key, the price of the prerequisite to run Cirrus also will go up, meaning the Elder Slayer goes up, each individual piece goes up because Conquerors, Eldritch bosses have a chance to drop Conquerors. That means Eldritch bosses will go up in value. Like it'll all be... It's like trickle-down economics and path, kind of, right?
Yeah, that's totally true. I'm just saying, like, normal series will not be worth running if Uber series drops the next Omni,
Correct, yeah.
That kind of sucks, I think.
I think the most expensive thing to run right now is Trial Master. Because I think the price of some of those things are, like, insane. Like, like Matsuwaddle Shield has gone crazy in price. And that's just a base, thing. If there was, like, a Uber version... Can you imagine how expensive it would be? Like, some of these things pricing in trade go really crazy.
Since you mentioned
that,
yeah, it was like 70 divines or something. The shield, and Hateforge I think is over 100.
It's just the meta build right now.
Yeah.
Can I just say when you mentioned the Trial Master, how much I like the way we acquire the Trial Master? Like the kind of like treasure hunt across all different content to find the pieces. I think that's amazing. That's my favorite part about this league, honestly.
Yeah, so I think it's great in theory, but it can feel real bad sometimes. Like, but I definitely feel like the revitalization of old content is the healthiest way to introduce new content, for sure.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like it's more fun to grind this than grinding like I don't know. Cirrus 100 times because you have to do very different things to acquire it. It makes you do things that you otherwise wouldn't do. Like my other missions are gonna be run now. I'm gonna delve now. I'm gonna run my Vaal temples.
It just promotes like byproduct results, which then sprout new ideas. Like imagine it's a really shit way of describing what I'm saying, but like imagine you're running a bunch of Alvas, right? It's like, okay, I'm running a bunch of Alvas, and then oh look, I just hit like the vial for like slave driver gloves. And it's like, oh, I was debating playing a trapper. Now I really want to play a trapper because now I have this on as a byproduct of farming Maven. And it's like, okay, well, the same thing can happen for Uber at Zero. The same thing can happen for Delve, like you're saying. Maybe you'll get like a really good All's Amulet as you're pushing for like things. So it's like in general, it's like a pretty wide-reaching farm strat that ends up having you go in so many little places that you are getting a bunch of stuff in the way, but also it's promoting content you might not have run otherwise. Like I don't think I'd be running temples if Trial Master didn't require me to run temples.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very surprising to me that GGG doesn't do that more, that they add stuff to the old content, because there's like this agenda that PoE is like bloated and it's too much content, but it's like just give one little thing to that thing and it's amazing. Like it's pretty much perfect example with the Trial Master.
Yeah.
They did. So
It feels a lot like, it's not that the room doesn't have too much shit. It's just organized poorly. Like there's tons of things we can do, like the Trial Master situation that'll make it feel less bloated because it'll make you feel like you're getting incremental gains while also progressing towards a greater goal. Like the goal is farm. If the goal is get Hateforge, right? Well, that requires you doing these 4 tiers of content, and that requires you doing these 4 different strategies to get those 4 things of content. And that all kind of like works towards a larger goal of like get Hateforge, which is, like you said, it's a great way of solving the bloat issue. But like, there's so many. How many other mechanics could be packaged in a similar way for upcoming or even older bosses?
Speaking of Abyss for that, because
Sure.
there's at least two ways, like 2 forms of Abyss content that are like honestly super outdated and not really worth doing, which is Abyssal Depths themselves for the Liches, but also the Lich boss in Delve, which doesn't drop anything worthwhile right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else they could combine it with.
I was
Maybe
actually
just those 2.
I was looking at him. I just finished the challenge for that, and I was looking at them, and they're both holding swords that aren't in the game or MTXs. And I feel like every time I see something like that, I'm like, this should just be like a weapon. Like surely they could make something, like make a unique where they just like, add a new weapon to a boss like that, or like we've seen that they could do it for the Uber bosses. I don't see why it would be impossible to do for things like these like revitalization projects for older content.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you can just add
Could be
Uber
one
versions.
for Breach too, I think. Breach has a lot of use again thanks to Hidden. Hidden was kind of the same thing. The Hidden Invitation was a very good way to revitalize Breach, but
They added the new.
still expand on that a bit more.
The new guy, what's it called? The Zeshwaddle, the one that the node in the bottom right of the tree, where it's like that thing. I mean, to me, the obvious thing with Breach, right? You have 5 different like elements represented in Breach. You just do hybrid, like you just do a cold fire Breach Lord. You could just do a Fizz Chaos Breach Lord. You could just make combinations of them and then just like smash their models together. I mean, most of them are reused models anyway for the Breach stuff. There's like they could just make more Breach, avenues if they wanted. That seems like a really obvious one. Or like, Legion being used for representing like lore people. There's so many cool lore people in Legion. I wish Kalandra would have fucking showed up in Legion out in the goddamn lake. It would have been cooler. Seeing the bird army come in.
I guess Harbinger could do some love too, especially now since the Exalted Orb has been nerfed in value so much. There's not many rewards left in Harbinger that we need.
It never got a boss. I mean, that always feels like an empty one. Like same thing with kind of Blight. Like we have Blight Ravage maps, which is just adding 2 zeros to a Blight map as far as the life and damage, kind of like a little bit lazy. But like I've always wanted to do some like bigger boss type thing and same for Harbinger. I always feel like it was such a cop out when I remember getting to my first tiers, like the red beachhead, and being like, the boss is the portal, and then they don't fight anything, and then it just dies, and the portal's just gone. I'm like, what? Like, is there nothing to do here? Or?
Yeah, I was waiting for the boss to come out of the portal, and
Same.
suddenly the loot dropped. I'm like, huh?
Okay, if you say so. Yeah, I don't think anyone would be offended if, like, the next league, they were just like, it was literally just called fucking Harbinger 2. I would have been like, that's fine, sure. Like, I couldn't really care less. Like, just give us, if you want to expand on existing content, there's so many things in Path that already have great foundations, like Abyss,
sure.
Blight, Harbinger, everything we just named. Like, we could just literally just have sequels to them. More, bigger, better.
I think I would be more excited if they revisited the current leagues, like, and expand on them, but then making some new stuff.
For me, 100%, yeah.
Up for them.
Especially
So you're
ones that
saying you're
felt
waiting for
unsatisfying.
Heist 2, Legi?
Oh no!
Heist 2? Let's go.
Log in.
Log in.
Log out.
Maybe they break into your hideout and you have to defend against them.
Oh no!
You can finally kill Vindari. Fuck that guy.
He can't.
With his
He
bombs.
has dementia. Leave him alone. Speaking of Heist, I know that you just got a couple new replicas, right, Manny?
Yeah, I spent the last week running the blueprints I accumulated in League, and I got my last replica and my last blueprint unique, so I'm like officially done running blueprints for my collection,
Nice.
which feels very good. Instantly changed my filter to hide all contracts and markers, and blocked Heist on the Atlas.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yeah, I'm on that same boat pretty much. I've decided it's time to finish the heist again after my misstep in
great
one of the
oopsies.
previous leagues. Yeah, so I'm pretty much done and just waiting for last two cards for Replica Beta Breath, but it feels great. Just clicking Block Heist on your Atlas tree, it's really liberating.
I just did a batch of, it was in total I did like 70 something replicas in the past, I think 3 weeks. I had pretty much burning all my markers in standard. And I just didn't get a single new thing. It feels fucking terrible every time. It probably
70 blueprints there.
Yeah. It was, most of them were 3-wing probably, but it was,
What are you missing again?
I'm missing a lot. I don't know how, but I'm missing 5 replicas still. So I'm missing Congors. I'm missing Bated Breath, obviously. Headhunter. I'm missing, what else is it? Shroud of the Lightless. And Tukohama's Fortress Shield.
So yeah, the rarest ones, unfortunately.
Those tend to... Congors is a weird... Congors is stupid, because that's a shit unique. And then somehow it is, like, tiered up there. Like, everyone I've spoken to who's farmed replicas is like, yeah, I mean, Congors is, like, one of the last ones I got for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there it is.
For reference, I've done around 70 blueprints this week as well for replicas, and I found 2 of the ones are missing. The Shroud and Congos. Shroud even twice.
We could not say that. That's fine.
I'm giving you hope, man. Give
Hope?
you hope.
That's been dead for years. That's fine.
Heartless German people.
Hope died with the Actum.
Yeah, I am. I finished the Trinkets blueprints not too long ago, but yeah, I'd say since this league started, I'm probably about 100 replica blueprints or so in, and still looking for the same 3, which is the replica, Shroud, Congors, and Bated Breath. So yeah, it's been pretty bad, but I've been doing a lot of stack deck farming. I think at least kind of where I'm at in my collection, stack deck farming is pretty strong because, you know, I missed like Scourge League, Uber Magic Find I've heard was really good. So, you know, missing cards for like Mage Blood, and I'm not a blight farmer, so I've been, you know, trying to get like Strangle Grasp and a lot of like the cards that are like boss gated. It's kind of nice to be able to, since there's like 5 or 6 kind of rare cards that I need, I feel like stack deck farming is a pretty strong way to acquire some of these uniques. So replica, and then any fully revealed blueprints that I find, you know, that have, you know, 2 or 3 stack deck rooms, and just all my heist characters are 15% dupe currency. It's been
Heist is
good.
still by far the best for stack decks. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you min-max for it too, like you said with the 15% chance to dupe currency, and you reveal the stack deck rooms, you literally get hundreds per hour. It's like crazy good.
It is. I don't even know what I did, but I'm at like 800 stack decks in League in the past week. But I just don't want to do it. I don't want to open them because it's like carpal tunnel. Like my hand's gonna hurt. That's the worst part. That's honestly the worst part about stack decks. They're great, you know, especially in solo self-found. But opening them is the fucking worst. I've heard that controller's the way to go for opening them, but that's like, I don't know. It was like a 1-button function for controllers to let you open them.
I
And
think
drop
it
them.
takes longer to open them with controller, but it's like a lot more convenient.
Yeah, I mean, if dropping things on the ground didn't still occupy space and you'd have to move every 10 seconds, like, it'd be fine. But the fact that you could drop, you know, pop 20 stack decks, your filter hides them, right? And you still have to, like, move away because that section of the ground is now occupied by phantom cards is the worst. Because I'm like, also, where do you guys open stack decks? Where's your preferred location?
Pain's lab always.
See, I don't do Taints because the eye level's too low. It fucks with my filter settings. But do you have like a filter just for stack decks though, or?
I don't have an item level setting for cards. They're always hidden, no matter where.
All cards are hidden.
All the bad cards, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way. It's I don't know if the cards are dictated by eye level. I'd say I'm 75% in hideout, and I'm just hoarding all these shit cards as well. Just for the random day when they add like a new, like I might not be hiding unique gloves or something, right? And you know, so then if you by opening them in your hideout, you can accumulate stuff that you normally hide on your filter, and then the day they introduce a new glove, that you can just maybe quickly farm that way, right? So that's, but then sometimes I get lazy and I just do Tain's Lab as well.
I do that for beasts. I have my beasts organized by categories in my like a real autist in my stash, and I have them note ranked. So I have like rows of glove or flask.
Pokemon
use.
collection.
Yeah, I'm showing. I'm not sure. I'm showing it on my screen right now. You guys can probably see it, but like, I have them set for like flask section. Then I have glove section, bodies, and then I just got lazy last time I did this, and I just didn't even. I didn't bother doing the extra dump tab I had full of beasts because I have a finite resource. I hate that there's like a limit to beasts. It's one of my least favorite parts about Bestiary.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah,
The
Bestiary
whole
could
system
definitely
is
use a reward.
just so shit.
Please do something about it.
I mean, you
One
could
day.
Imagine
overhaul
a
the entire
one-click, like a one-click, pay 1,100 Chaos Orbs and get rid of all your red beasts. Like, I mean, 1,100 Chaos is a lot, but I mean,
thing.
dude,
Yeah.
I'd do it. I mean, just to be able to reset, or at least like half of them. Like, just get
Yeah, but
them out
speaking
of
of-
there.
But speaking of Bex, you should have told her about the beasts. Not
I
about
did.
anything else. Just the beasts.
Well, I-
Yeah,
So I
that's
sent
the
her-
number one QOL, please.
I could pull up the list actually. I sent her, but there's like 80 things in that list though. Where is it?
Highlight bold, 18-point font.
Bex. That's her name. Is this it? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I actually read through that list, and it was a lot of good suggestions.
I
There
mean,
was, a
Well,
lot of questionable ones, obviously.
I'm sure there's a lot of questionable ones, but also, we shouldn't necessarily discourage people with different perspectives as we sit on our golden pedestals, of game knowledge. They rolled the gambit. I mean, I have a top section of ones. This was from January, like early January, late January, and this was the one we did recently. But they, having even things like, variations of currency vacuuming. That's pretty apparent in almost, I think, every ARPG now at this point. Having a particle slider, having colorblind mode. There's, a combat log or death log, something like that. There's a lot of basic ones, and then some that just say, like, auto door opens. Because we have that in Incursion. Why can't we have it everywhere else, The priority is...
I realized when I made my fast heist character, the real enemy in heist is not the doors that you open with rogues, but the ones you have to click with left click. Like,
Yeah,
those
well,
are actually
especially if you're
the
too
most painful
fast.
ones.
Because that's...
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like
Fast they
being
character,
over
the worse they
like
get.
200 move speed is the cap for me. Everything more than that, I get frustrated like looting. Like it's too much. Too much click. I go crazy. Every time I was playing like whatever some fast build, like what the fuck is this character moving at? Probably like 150. This is about where I want to be. Just walking at 150 speed. So then plus frenzy or whatever. Because outside of that, I'm gonna be like just trying to click on my stash and just dancing around it. Feels kind of shit.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Luckily, in heist, oftentimes you can just... There's no doors on the way out in most of the contracts that I run, the deception contracts. So I just click the phase run and zoom.
You gotta
in
break
5
out the
seconds.
lightning warp. You gotta get the timing exactly right. So you warp in the beginning, then warp out the end.
Maybe next live I'm done with heist now.
Yeah. Imagine next league they say heist 2, and then you're like, oh no, another
Oh,
100
no.
replicas. You were just saying
Uber
once you
replica
see-
heists.
Oh no.
1%
what-
chance to drop from heists.
What is the what boss you think could get? I mean, I was really surprised there wasn't Uber at Zeri, like some upgrade at Zeri, because that seems like such a quintessential path boss. It's been around forever. I mean, it's literally like the first major boss. Not that Uber at Zeri is difficult at all at this point, but like just to have an elevated version of it. I mean, even fucking Lab got it basically an Uber, and at Zeri didn't get like as difficult of one.
I mean, she already has a level 80 version, right? Which is not that easy to do. I think he's already in the same level as like the regular Pinnacle bosses. And the regular Uber, like the Gift of the Goddess Edition show, that's probably easier to do than Uber at Zeri IMO.
I think Uber Zeri only is kind of easy because the health pool. Like if they buff health pool and like some damage numbers, but like 10%.
Or just give her
she
the
would be like a real boss.
fucking the 70% reduced damage taken. Just give her the
Or
tag, the dreaded tag that all bosses have that are Ubers now.
She's the kind of boss that she would be really scary to do in hardcore always, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
But in softcore, when you don't mind dying once or twice, you will always kill her, right? Because she's not that tanky.
Mm-hmm.
But like I would always shit my pants in doing the boss in hardcore.
Yeah.
no matter what.
Because you could probably tank a little Flame Blast isn't the worst thing. The Storm Calls scare me more.
Yeah, now
than
that we
anything.
have suppression, you're right. The Flame Blast is actually tankable on most builds of suppression now.
Yeah. Well, even just the spears, though,
right.
they hurt pretty bad, the puncture.
That's why I mentioned, like, if they would increase the damage a bit with the current defenses we have, that would be able to one-shot you. And this boss is really scary, man.
Is when you guys do the feared, what's your first person you kill? I go for Edziri first.
Same.
Yep, Aziri. She's just scary.
Especially when you got speed AoE or something on your
The
invitation,
attack
you
speed
just
is
can't
the
let her.
spooky one. I don't even care about her Flame Blast. It's the fact that the second she spawns in, she whips at me with a puncture. That's like 9 times out of 10. Yeah, same thing for like Elder Slayers. I do Baron first always. You know, I feel like there is always like a right answer for those.
Somewhat depends on your build too.
Yeah. The hidden, I'm not sure. I feel like Tull's the obvious one, but I don't know, something about Unatal where he like covers the area with bones and just causes a bunch of line of sight issues for certain builds. Really annoying.
For me, it's always Ash, because Ash is kind of scary with the balls and the Nova. It's just most of my characters just die to that. I always focus Ash first. Me talking about those.
Ash. We could do let me look at the Q&A questions. I'm not really sure what is on there. We're just gonna have
It's going to be high quality questions as always.
I'm not sure how many there are. A couple, not that many.
Not to
I
mention
was
some
kind of posted this like 8 hours ago. Which Uber Pinnacle boss is the hardest and why? It's a good question.
Cirrus.
You think Cirrus is the hardest? I think, yeah, probably.
Cirrus and Exile close second, and everything else is like a good level below IMO.
I would agree, and for 2 different reasons, I think. Like, I don't think Cirrus is scary. I think the arena is scary. And then
Yeah, but same thing.
Exarch is also, I think, a real, like, it's like
That's
a
Eater you're
hard...
looking at.
Sorry, Eater. For me, is the one that has like a really hard build stop, which is like if you don't have suppression, it feels like really, really rough doing this because of his targeting when you put him on Uber goes like he's like aim assist or something. There's something
He
changes.
has really fast turn rate. Same as Uber Series though. Like the turn rate gets boosted a lot in Uber fights, so they're harder to dodge, but you can still dodge Eater pretty reliably. Like you shouldn't get hit by the beam if your build's like fast enough.
I feel like Exarch isn't that bad, except for I don't like the Minotaur. Minotaur scares me. little.
An Exarch again is just you're fighting the arena only. Like
Yeah.
the Exarch, if it didn't have the ball phase, it would be the easiest Uber boss probably. But
I think I'd still rather do any of them over doing Shaper because I just hate. I hate all of it. I hate everything that
not
Shaper
because of
represents.
difficulty though, right?
No. Emotional difficulty, maybe, if that counts. How
It
the four quadrants and then both of those run back phases can really just eat my dick. It is the worst. It's like such. I probably lost a year of my life doing those. Like it's so bad feeling still every single time. I'm always just looking up, just like why am I doing this? Why am I running back? Why am I killing map bosses as I'm doing an Uber boss? Like it just feels so shit.
I don't understand why they just didn't remove them. Like, there's no really reason to.
Cause the
not
lore.
remove the current game.
It's the
I
lore.
don't know, man.
How
I
about
think in
was
terms
second
of-
your guys' opinion, I think that Exarch and Cirrus are usually the hardest. I mean, Cirrus is a tricky one for me because if your build has a lot of damage, you can kind of kill it really fast, and it's pretty easy. But
the man
I guess
phases
they're all
too
easy
often.
though, right?
Yeah.
If you have like 30 million plus DPS, then they're all easy, right? At that point, there's no difficulty anymore.
Yeah. That also brings back to why Shaper sucks. Is because he has 3 iframe phases. When he does like, no matter how much damage I do, he always interjects at a certain percentage of life, and then says ultimate chaos and starts teleporting around and like wipes the dot.
You can
in front of
actually skip the ultimate chaos.
I
If
don't
you get
know if
lucky,
I've
he
ever
does like the beam
successfully-
first.
I skipped the third.
It's rare.
I have skipped the Maven last phase this morning for the first time ever, where she just stood around for 1 second, and that was enough to just like nuke her pretty much, and then you have to
Yeah.
and that's like pretty uncommon, like you're saying. It's Yeah, Sirius just moves around. It's like every 3 autos, he's in a different zip code. Like, he's just gone. I'm just, like, spending half the time figuring out where the fuck he went. Like, obviously, like, every boss, they look at the same direction they're teleporting. That's, like, the visual cue. And sometimes it's an audio cue. But that fight's such a clusterfuck with all the stuff on the ground and, like, storms popping up, and it's just...
I think it's just a bot fight, being honest. Like, it's just not good.
I couldn't... doing that, like, as... I'm not going to say traditional melee, but just, like, having to be on that boss to damage him must be the worst experience in the game. Like, imagine cleaving this poor boy. It would be just so bad.
Almost impossible to do. And I mean, also they buffed it this patch. That's the thing. Like the degens, you cannot use Life Flask anymore.
I thought you meant cleave. They buffed cleave this patch legally.
No. I mean, yes.
On paper.
Let's not talk about that. But yeah, Sirius just that doesn't really work on like a lot of builds, or you have to like have insane damage, as Manni mentioned.
I think he also has just like a really offensive loot pool, like as far as the Uber variation versus the regular. He has no like.
He can drop awakened gems.
20% chance, yeah, compared to Maven's like 70 or whatever it is.
I mean, maybe if they add another unique, then and it's gonna be sought after, then gonna be better. But like to give my anecdotal evidence about the massive thread, I've done I think 100 serious fights this patch, and I dropped to I think 2 or 1 massive thread out of all of them. So like
I believe it's a 2%, yeah.
Yeah, it's insanely rare. I don't know.
Also, you can divine out of it and can't get back into it, which.
And you cannot. You can only divine it within the massive, so it's locked.
Oh, is it locked? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you could divine out of it. I was like, that's the most offensive shit ever. All right, that's feel a little better then. That's funny.
I don't know. Fuck Sirius.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I honestly feel like my favorite Uber boss though, in terms of like fun, was actually Uber Shaper. Not big like it. The immunity phase, like the mini bosses are still annoying, but the fight itself, when I did it for the first time, it was actually. That was the most fun I've had in the last year, probably in PoE.
I think it's the most active fight. Like it's the dance of doing Uber Shaper with both clones, LMP beam, like all that stuff. I think is the most like healthy feeling.
Yeah, where's my red cover shade, Xana?
But that's also why it's so annoying, because it's like that part's so good, and then the other parts of Shaper feel so shit, because it's like, well, this fight's really fun. Like it's a good fight. Just like drag out that part and then like remove the shit parts.
I was watching Quinn do it last week on his like very low damage super
tanky build. That's like watching a root canal. That fight is
so fun to watch. Yeah, like that fight is so good. Same as Uber Elder though. That one is also really good. You're just constantly fighting, and you always have something to do. And
yeah,
I don't like doing these immune phases like Exile and Ether and Maven Memory Game. Actually, battling is more fun, yeah.
Yeah. We have not mentioned Cortex really, which is probably for the best. It's a crap shoot.
It doesn't even feel like an Uber.
Well, it's either the easiest Uber boss or it's near impossible depending on your build. Like I did Uber Cortex, my first one I did this league, or in standard, and this is on the fucking Maw of Mischief Ignite build. It rolled Avoid Ailments, Res, and Life. So it had like plus 80 all res, 120 something % life, and then like 90% chance to avoid ailments. And I was like, this is miserable. Like this, it's such a crapshoot. But then also the loot isn't really good. Like I feel like comparatively,
it's terrible. Like I had one good item that you can consider good.
I got a frenzy shield from him this league.
Plus 1 max charge.
+1 max frenzy from the boss.
That's pretty good. All right. I guess it has like very high highs and then on average very low lows.
I guess it's just balanced on trading. That's about it. But I bricked 2 Uber Cortex fights this league because it rolled reduced damage from crits, life, and like AoE on. And
AoE makes it. That's probably the worst one because those with 2 bosses active, those puddles get like pretty offensively big. I think it's really just the golem. The golem's the hard part for like whatever the phase that have the golem. He seems like the most rippy of the components. Like his kit seems to scale the most damaging off of things.
It's because of his tankiness, and like he gets like insane damage reduction at some point, which is Kind of annoying.
What's every time he's doing any of his ball or beam phases, he just like takes like 90% reduced damage or something.
Wait, this one again.
Yeah, that and also
Like the most deadly one is definitely the last boss, the one that is present in Fiat as well.
oh yeah,
The
like
one that is full
Venarius,
of the
like,
void.
supposed to be the I always just called him Venarius, which is not him, but the guy who's
Yeah, that's
dude.
like the one that died to the most when I died in Cortex. It's either that or dying to Degen because it's everywhere.
yeah. Maybe we're the degens after all.
Yeah. Right. Uber Cortex is the boss where I would not even do Uber because it's like I really want to do the Fiat. Missing out on a Cortex kill feels so bad because you missed out on a Fiat as well. I wouldn't take the risk of doing Uber there usually. This league I did it because of the keys. But like in last league or two I would not. Oh, I guess there's only one league with Uber so far. In last league I wouldn't even click Uber Cortex ever.
The one nice part though is Cortex is my rate of getting Cortex from dropping is pitiful, but my rate of getting Cortex from the synth map card, the Justified
Yeah, that
Ambition.
card seems to be unweighted.
It,
since
yeah,
1 in 5.
it's just like you said, just a 1 in 5, which is and this card's hella common off of doing Conquer farming. So Conquerors have my favorite card drops probably. I think after all of everything said and done, as far as bossings and farming, like they just have like a great pool of cards that drop. Like there's the Delirium Orbs, there's these, the Inspired Learning off of Drox. You get the Council.
They have
of
so
Cats off
many
of-
cards too, right?
It's a lot, but they're also like all high tier cards. They're all like good stuff, which feels good.
Yeah, Unnatural Instinct as well.
Yep, I've never seen that one. There are some cards that I've literally only seen one of. I have to probably pick them out, but I've been in the game for a while. I'll try to find one. I see it and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like I see it on the ground. I know I have it in my filter, so it's supposed to like flag as higher quality. I'm like, I've never seen that card before. Yeah,
Is it the Astromancer maybe?
Astromancer, that one's pretty rare. I
Maybe
got a
the
couple of
rarest
those.
card.
I have one of those in League.
There's the double corrupted fishing rod or whatever. I think it's the Old Man. That one is also
Fateful
one of the
Meeting.
rarest.
I've only have one of on my account, which is the League-specific double influence, double corrupted item. Then
Level
also
97
level
to be
97.
precise.
Yeah, that one's the double corrupted ass nest one's pretty rare.
It's a lot more
That
common now.
Fateful Meeting drops from Invasion boss or something like that. I think
What in
around-
tarnations?
Yeah, it's like really weird. I remember dropping a lot of those from like ritual invasion bosses back in the day, but I think they just removed it. So,
Remembrance
it's
is
like
still pretty fucking rare in my experience. The precursor card. It's got some high value though. What is with the card? Some of these card arts are not the same like pixel count at all.
Yeah, the Pandemonious one's like high quality or like
It's like
yeah, like
3
high
times-
hues.
Something's
right?
different, yeah. It's like not even the same. Like this, it looks like it's not even from Path almost compared to like everything around it. What is happening there? Yeah, div cards are really kind of taken over. Almost, I don't know if they're like too prominent, but maybe they are.
I mean, they keep adding new ones every league.
Yeah, but
And,
half the
since they're
cards they
community
added are just fucking double corrupts of uniques that exist in the game anyway.
Yeah, that was a rare one. I've in all my stacked deck farming this thing, I dropped I think it's not the Scout. That's the Exalt card. But what is the one that's the double corrupted Watcher's Eye? That one's pretty rare for sure
Double
too.
corrupted Watcher's Eye.
Yeah, it's a new one. It has like a dog and it's like a weird like sunset kind of in the back.
I think it's called the Destination.
The Destination. Yep.
I only have one
yeah,
of
it's the
these.
same-
Eternal War.
The Journey and the Landing, I think, are from the same creator.
Timeless Jewel, double corruptedness. I mean, it's the fucking double corrupt cards. Just like
So speaking of cards, what is your guys' take on stack decks? Do you guys like stack decks overall? Do you think they're good for the game, or
I hurt my hand.
what's your take on stack decks?
Too much clicking. Too much clicking.
I love them. I mean, again, coming back, with the changes to like unique drops and like how, you probably won't. Most people probably never drop like a natural mage blood or something or like Squire. I mean, it's going to be the way to kind of farm them, right? Like I think for at least mage blood, it's going to be card farming and even juicing up maps is going to be pretty tough. So if you can do a bunch of stack decks and like heist or something, right? Like I think it's fun. I like them.
I like them
Like,
on
I've always
principle.
hated. Yeah, I've also hated how they give like for some things it's just better to farm the decks than farm the item itself, and that's just stupid.
That's where my like thought is. I mean, I had the whole thing with the metamorph where I didn't pop the cards until I got an actual drop.
Yeah.
Like, I feel mildly ethical about some grinds where it's like Stranglegas, for example. Like, I'm not gonna if I get a full set, I wouldn't hand it in until I ran like at least 100 Blight Ravage maps or 200 or something, like whatever number, right? Like, I want to put my best foot forward to acquire the item in its intended way. You know, granted that might just change over time. It happens, like it has happened, but it just feels a little bit like knowing that if I just got one card, I can just gamble to max and just be done. It's like, well, I feel like I should probably put my time in, you know, to a degree.
I'm the exact opposite. I dropped the Stranglegrass card off the mini Exarch fight, or the halfway blue fight. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. And then I've dropped one. Extract, yeah, and then I've dropped one from stacked decks. It's like, yep, I'm 2 of 6. I'm not gonna gamble, and I'm never gonna run into a Ravaged Blight map personally.
I think the idea of like
Absolutely unethical.
of getting the cards from like certain bosses and so on, that's a great idea, or farming them in areas.
Yeah.
I just don't like the fact that like Haunting Shadows is a really good example for Metamorph card, even though it's one that most people probably don't even know about, but you could technically farm the card, I think, in Twilight Temple, but I've never even seen a card drop, but I've had dozens from stacked decks, so you end up just getting Metamorph uniques from stacked decks because the rarity is so out of balance, really. Getting the Metamorph uniques from farming Metamorph is like a monumental task that is like harder to get than, you know, a Mage Blood or something, and then you just get it for free from stacked decks by running a Day of Heist, which is kind of
It feels shit.
out of balance.
It just feels shit because it's just like, you know, you look down at your pile of organs and you're like, what am I doing with my life? I could just be popping stack deck.
Like Obliteration is another one, which like sometimes on League Start you want to be like, well, I want to farm an Obliteration for my build. It's so good for me, right? Let me farm this diff card, and then you realize it's like some really niche drop in Delve, which I guess would be fine to do, but then it's just like, why would I farm the card in Delve when I can just farm like a couple of Deception contracts and open it from stacked decks instead?
I mean, it's offensively common, and it got buffed pretty heavily, so it's like, there's a lot of cards, like, I mean, I'm not sure other examples, but there's like a lot of those kind of mid to shit tier uniques that are just, I don't really want a Voltaxic Rift, but if I did want one, you know, the card's very common. Like, there's a lot of things like that where it's just...
I like the idea of cards in general, right? If they were farmable, like, you know, you have this map, you run this map 50 times and you get a Voltaxic Rift, or you run this boss 10 times and you get this card. That's amazing. Target farming anything is always good, in my opinion. Maybe it's my SSF bias, but target farming is what I want.
Cursed Words
Stacked
is
decks
probably
just
a
the
good
opposite,
example, though. Like, of cards done right, like Maw Mischief is a high card set that has, it's quite common on a couple large map tile sets, like Cemetery, etc., and Graveyard. And it's like...
that part is good, but then
Yeah.
even if you want to farm more of Mischief, you're probably better off running Heist for stack decks. It's going to be
Ultimately,
faster than
yeah.
getting Summit. Like, I guess the stack deck is too common is the problem. I don't know. It's just a bit out of balance, is what my opinion is.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked the question, because I really think that would be a good idea for GGG to look at stack decks at some point. Like, I remember one of the interviews with Tritz on like I think one of the other podcasts, and someone asked about stack decks, and he answered, "Yeah, we recognize the problem. We don't have a solution. Yeah, sweep it on the rug and give us more stack decks, I guess."
Yes, it's there. It just seems to be also like the filler reward for a lot of things, where it's like, oh, this mechanic's shit. It's like, well, now it drops stack decks. Oh, this mechanic's great now. You know, like that.
Yeah.
Well, if that's like really the solution, I mean,
I really hate that. I really do hate that.
But it's also very true because that's just how, you know, if it's like you're telling me, oh, I can get a guaranteed chaos or I can get a stack deck, I'm probably just picking the stack deck 9 times out of 10 because it just has such a dope variance. The problem is if you nerf them too much and they just become gambler sets, it kind of feels like they're pointless then. It's like a fine line of it being good, you know. I'm not sure if they could even adjust the rates or weighting to where it'd be like appropriate considering just such a massive pool that if you change the variance of like card from a stack deck, even things like the Apothecary. Like, you tweak 1 decimal point, and it becomes, like, a possible route for Easy to get his Mage Blood to just being never seen again, So it's
I
one of the...
kind of feel like we're at that point, because they nerfed the Apothecary from stack deck significantly this league, for sure.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know.
Or, like, not just Apothecaries, but the other tier 1
Isn't that the
leagues
best
as well.
part, that we have no idea by how amount? Like, realistically, what are the numbers? We have no... I mean, it could be not as bad as we think. It could be way worse. It could be wasting your time.
Yeah, we'll have to wait until some brave people open like 100k or 500k decks again and track every single card that comes.
I mean,
from
that
it.
number also, I feel like, goes up every league, whatever that like, sample size requirement kind of.
Yeah,
Closer,
there's more
closer to the
cards
mill
than-
mark.
You need more decks.
What actually is more offensive as far as the diluted pool of things, honestly, for me, is Helm Enchantments. That's one of the real sad problems that has just not really been rectified. I mean, obviously, Gift of the Goddess exists, but like trying to farm a specific Helm enchant is like can be a really sad time. I feel like there should be like a better. I saw a really good suggestion when we were doing the Bex thing. Someone was like, "What if we just like if you had like a level 20 gem and you could feed it to the thing and it would give you like, a enchant for that thing, not necessarily the one you want, but just like one of the 4 or whatever. Like there's
Sounds
cool
a bit
things they
too
could
overpowered.
do. Well, they would have to probably weight them, which is then that gets fucked. Like all quality gem type weighting, but there's like cool things I feel like they could do, and they, just making it so. What if we just made lab and it's harder and you get more? Isn't necessarily the most elegant solution.
I don't know. I'll play devil's advocate. I think Lab's in a pretty good place. I mean, compared to where it was, right? I think we'd all agree on that. But the fact that you can actually see the enchants, choose it, so you're not just like, again, that 1-year-old mindset, plus of where you just put the helm in, you hope you get it, but like now you could see, oh wow, this is going to be like, I could get a Wrath Reservation helm. Well, I'll put that on a Hubris, or I'll put it on this helm I already have crafted, or hey, I got a Lightning Strike. Well, I'll put that on, the attribute helm. The fact that you can kind of choose, and especially for someone like, again, God bless them, but the people that run lab, right? Like you could have 20 clients that might all have specific things that they want. Which is huge, right? I mean, compared to like, I'm
general
running
purpose, it's definitely better. Yeah.
General purpose, yes.
But
yeah,
if it's like, I want explosion, trap, +2, shrapnel, helm enchant, let me go run lab, cut to 500 labs later, never saw it, because there's over 100,
sadly
1,000 helm
that's the
enchants.
problem.
Just chase items, right?
Yeah.
I think it's not feasible for devs to just accommodate SSF players with those let's say quality of life.
No, help me. Give me things.
Me.
Me.
Have you guys noticed the same thing? I feel like the random helm enchants that drop on the ground from league mechanics was a lot less common this league. Remember leagues where I just showered in random helm enchants and I picked up like a full tap of decent enchants, but this league I feel like I almost picked up nothing.
Whatever that role is, I think got heavily replaced by just an offering. Like whatever that split was, where it was like 50% chance to get like an enchant or an offering, is just like 90-10 now or something. Because I would almost all like I did a bunch of blight maps and I get the enchant one pretty common, the lab, chest.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
say
Like open
90% of
Yeah.
the time it's going to be just a normal offering and not an enchanted helmet or not an enchanted anything, even boot or glove.
Oh, his cleaner
think
like a
I'll
legion
second that.
usually dropped like multiple, right? But now it's nothing.
I think stuff like Simulacrum still drops a lot of enchants. It's more weighted towards enchants than like offerings, I think, and there's also layouts in
Could be.
logbooks. But yeah, I definitely notice in like normal mapping or like, as you said, Legion, that's like no enchants at all.
Well, hard pivot. What build are you guys currently playing, and what build do you have in the works or want to make next? Don't
goes first?
all talk at once. How about Easy? Because I know he had a level new character. He said maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pretty much, you know, like a one-trick pony, right? I mean, again, I'm still just tornado shot. It kind of does everything except for that bosser. I personally don't have a desire to really build new characters. Well, let me take that back. The lightning strike character was great. I really enjoyed playing that, but you know, post that, I really don't have a desire to build any new characters, and you know, until I run into an issue where my current, you know, arsenal of characters cannot do a certain set of content, and I feel like now I'm able to do all content with the characters that I have.
Yeah. How about you, Manny?
And I'm playing a Lightning Strike champion again this league, but this time I'm playing with the Doyanis plus Mahawk Subtle Shield because I happen to find that one. And that build's insanely good. I'm having a blast. I've been using it to delve deep to like a 1200 at this point, hunting for the Trial Masterpiece. And I'm not sure if I'll make another character anymore or not, since I kind of just want to focus on farming more Trial Masters, and making a new character just takes away a lot of time.
Well, if you get a Hate Forge, would you make a new character with that?
I don't think so. Maybe for fun, but I don't think it's going to be good.
As opposed to what?
Well, you know, I oftentimes make characters because they're better at something, right? And I can farm more efficiently, and efficiency is fun.
Yeah.
But I don't think a Hate Forge build would be good at anything, really. Not, at least not one we could make in SSF.
Well, what would be required? You need what, like triumphant stuff, or I don't even know what the fuck you would need for Hate Forge.
I don't know either.
Stuff.
I think you might need this special delve base that has like the weapon that has reduced soul
I know what you mean.
used or something.
Yeah.
You can get it from either delving or from the
fossil.
sextant that gives you...
Oh,
No, there's a sextant for it. There's a sextant for when you run wild fragments, like sacrifice fragment, you get the special
the
box,
chest.
and that box can drop
the
it.
Gift to the queen, or it's called, I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that way you can get like a clean base for that, but yeah, it's a weird grind. I don't think I'm down for that. I'm gonna hunt +1s because I'm actually pretty close to the... Like I haven't been this close to full collection since like Ritual League or something. Because of some lucky events this league, like the Stasis drop.
That's a big one, yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna try to get it down to like 5 or 4 remaining.
I think we're all at the point, though, now where our remaining uniques are all kind of hyper niche shit grinds, you know?
It's not that bad for me. It's mostly just a new lab and Trial Master stuff that I'm missing, which is... It's kind of fun to farm because I haven't found it before, you know?
Correct, yes, yeah.
Trial Master especially, finally a reason to delve again.
I wish
I
you...
delved since like Ritual League.
I don't think I would be really saying it, but I wish he was harder, Trial Master.
The fight is a joke, yeah.
I find myself running around the fight just trying to click the chaos that pop up that one phase if it ever happens.
I'm glad they fixed that. So the first Trial Master that I've dropped, the first Trial Master fight I did, it bugged out. The instance bugged out, and I lost the instance when I was trying to loot it. Luckily, it was the wand, which I had already had. But if it would have been Hate Forge, I might have taken another year break.
I would not have blamed you. Legi, how about you for builds and what have yous?
Funnily enough, me being a Lightning Strike one-trick pony for a year, I made a new build lately, which I'm having a blast running around with. I made a Venom Jar that I also using Omniscience setup, but Venom Jar is such a cool skill, and I would recommend people to try it out because it's just mechanically so strong if you have enough damage.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a lot of like gimmick mechanics, but so the skill is pretty much has almost built-in chain of vault quality. It has fork, and like it produces millions of projectiles and like works insanely well with Snapper's Mark. So I think it's one of the sleeper skills that people, you know, don't look at all. And I think
Divergent one, that's chains 0.05. Does that equal, that's one chain for 20, or is that 2 chains for 20?
I don't understand the question, sorry.
0.05. It's 0.05 chains per quality.
Right. So on 20 quality, it's 1 chain.
Yeah,
so you get 1 guaranteed chain. It's really hard to get old quality because like 10 weighting, so it's really difficult one to get. But if you get it, then yeah, it's amazing. So been leveling that up slowly but surely. And another build I'm still trying to get around this league gonna be Reaper in standard. I really wanted to do it in league.
Oh no.
But
Little Reaper
getting
boy.
Mage Blood,
Yeah.
the Reaper boy, but getting Mage Blood is kind of impossible unless you MF. So it's kind of too late. So I might make one in standard just for the memes. Prove the hate is wrong.
Reap it up. I
Reaper is the real skill.
I had my Reaper at level like 37 or something ridiculous, and it still felt like a wet noodle, to be honest. But I hope you get it because I want to see what you're gonna do. You know.
Yeah, I looked into some profiles, but it was profile before they made the live changes. So hopefully it's not gonna die. We'll see about that, but fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
If they nerf Reaper, that's fucking good. Let them. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly why I want to make it, like because people, don't
It's
like
like
the
nerfing
minion
Heavy
changes.
Strike again or something. It's just like, sure,
Yeah,
just kick him when
exactly.
he's down. Oh boy.
We'll see. But yeah, Venom Jar, thumbs up. Try it out. You're gonna have fun.
Gyred
What are you
up.
playing late?
Well, still playing. I've been doing this shit tier RF just for most of the league to farm like everything, but it's I'm starting to hate myself because it's just my clear is confined to a circle around my body, and that is just as far as I can go. So I wanted to make an auto bomber actually. So I was like, what can I just walk around with and farm lakes with easily? So I was like, I set off yesterday with nothing. And then I farmed out a Lone Messenger, and I farmed out a Glorious Vanity. I got Storm Secrets, and then I have a 6-link Annihilating Light that has Power Charge on crit. So I'll do... I think I made some of the gear, like Exposure and Shock Share. So I'll probably just do some auto bomber thingy, and just use that for farming. Because it's probably going to be more enjoyable than fucking RF. Not that it's bad. It's just
Isn't the leg mostly about having like good single target though? Because most of the time it's just bosses.
I don't
right?
mind running
Like
the
Exile.
lakes. It's getting the lakes for me is the problem.
Oh, okay.
And getting just mapping on RF is like I've been doing nothing but silo because it's the width of my RF. So it makes my life easy, But I can't
smart.
I can't emotionally keep doing it. I have to play something new.
Not very thick, Lighty.
Is it what?
Your RF is not very thick, unfortunately.
That's because I don't have the alt quality RF. I didn't get the alt quality. I do have a 2120 Val RF, which is apparently very rare, but there's that. But yeah, no, I just need to do something new. So I'm gonna do auto bomber. I haven't played an auto bomber in like 2 years, so I was like, this should be an idea. Because I want to do something with Annihilating Light.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you're gonna use Annihilating Light for
Yep.
it.
Annihilating Light, power charge and crit and plus should be good. Feels good, tastes good.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Heard good things about Auto Bomber from people on my stream. Like I
Yeah.
really thought that Auto Bomber is like squishy, kind of garbage, slow build.
I mean,
But,
it is squishy, but the thing is, your Herald of Thunder kind of triggers like it's hitting at the very edge of your screen. So it's if you have like Asenaths or Impulses, you're literally just walking around looting. Like there's not a whole lot of downtime. I mean, that's all you're doing.
I think there are some like decent tanky setups with like I think skin or something like that. So
Yeah,
I was surprised about that it's not.
and you do have
not squishy.
I think there's a version that even used Ghost Writhe and had like some like it was a recoup situation. Like kind of like the Bone Shatter guy has like a crazy recoup ring. Whatever that guy who's in Trade League. He's like over 100 something recoup on his build. There's like you could roll, yeah, like some of the rings you can get have like super high recoup on them. And you run like one Storm Secret, and then your second ring is like recoup, and you can just pick up the recoup on tree. You don't really have to get like all the.
Oh yeah, because you hit yourself with Storm Secret, right?
Yeah. So you don't have to get all the fancy like max red shit. You just like take a hit and then go right back to full pretty much. Which I think is
Sounds
only.
good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to make some. I'm sitting on like 6 or 7 Kalandra tiles at the moment, so maybe I'll try to make something. Have you guys found a fishing tile yet?
Yeah, like 5.
Yeah,
I actually ran one accidentally last night. It drops a fishing unique. There's like one chest in there, and it just pops out one fishing unique. At least the one I did.
I've
drop,
heard
the
someone.
riffing shell.
I saw a video. Someone did this, and they got an angler's plat to drop off of it.
Really?
Yeah, which I didn't even think was possible, but I saw it in the video, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a thing."
Yeah, maybe I'll run mine then.
He was wearing a Fairgraves, and I don't know if that's related or just he just was paranoid. But yeah,
the thing drops before. Like you don't even have to enter or to open the chest. Like as soon as you enter the title, the chest just auto opens and drops the thing.
Well, I'll still put on a Fairgraves just for my own paranoia. No reason not to.
It looks good too.
It
I
does.
still haven't found one somehow. I'm not a good fisherman, it seems.
Oh, the Tyler, yeah.
No,
I mean, I've only
tile,
found one. This is the
don't have
one. Only tile I've had is that, yeah. And we've got I've got a couple of these also where it's like Paradises and Reflections. Those are nice.
Yes, Manni took them all from me.
The Paradise is so good. That's the best part about this league.
Well, I have
It's so strong.
I have 11 Paradises stacked up right now, which is why I kind of want it definitely incentivizes me to level builds. The only problem is you have to get to 70. If all your tiles are 83, you probably get to 74, 75 to get the most value out of it.
Like my characters that I leveled, they usually went to level 68 in story and BA, and then I run a couple breach stones, get to 75, and then 3 or 4 Paradise, and suddenly I'm 92.
Yep.
And with the build's done, ready for end game.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this.
Paradise are super, super strong. They even give 3% XP at level 99, which is absurd, There have been times where I farmed 40 minutes for 3% XP in SSF. No, we do it in 10 seconds in a lake tile.
Especially rotation. If you're in trade league and you're not 100, this is the league to get 100 probably. You can just buy it
You can buy it in one day, yeah.
Oh yeah, it is super, super cool. Definitely would recommend.
The most rewarding thing about the league for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean I've the mirror tablets they hurt me emotionally, but
To be fair, the lake, I liked the pure divines from the lake a lot. I wasn't really in need for pure divines much, but if I was crafting a lot this league and you needed divines a lot, the lake would have been the way to go, I'm sure. I'm getting a divine every 5 to 10 lakes, which is it's pretty solid, right? For pure divine income in SSF.
The last Kalandra item I tried to make failed yet again, and it just makes me sad. I have so far whiffed every attempt at making nice things.
The radiated tile just makes me sad every time. Not enough of them.
Yeah, no, that's why it's
cool.
kind of feels good to do.
Because you need so many of them to even get one item done.
Yeah.
And we're not looking for 6 mod, right? We're looking for the correct negative and 2 positives or something.
Exactly. Yeah,
Even that is so hard.
And you can have bait ones you can put lightning res on and make it Doriani related, or just put on mana if it's a life tap build. There's things you could do, but feels rough, man. We want to do a couple more Q&A questions, I guess. One of them says, why Manni have biggest peep?
That's factually wrong, by the way.
How do you know?
It's a good question. Probably should post a picture of it. Only answer really there. What underused and underpowered skill do you think should be buffed and why?
All of them. What kind of question is this?
Yeah.
Well, probably 80% of skills.
There's a lot of things
especially spells, I feel should just deal more damage, man. The fact that even on a 6 link with a tree has a ton of damage nodes, your spells are not going to deal enough damage for a lot of them to feel good for the content we have now.
Yeah, but that's the most egregious thing for me. The only spells that are kind of played are lightning spells, and those are mostly carried by Doriani and in endgame, which kind of sucks. No one plays fire spells, which would be fire hits compels, for example. You get to do your blazing salvo here and there, maybe, but
I don't think I've seen anyone do firestorm, purifying, fucking incinerate. There's just a lot. It's
just only 50% more damage, in my opinion. All of these spells. Spells are kind of linear to scale, right? Mostly just gem levels and
not just linear, but they're also have a low ceiling, most of them. There's a finite amount of damage you could pull out of a fireball, realistically, versus any attacks, any weapon skill. So it might be better, in the early to mid of a build, but there's like a kind of a hard cap on how much damage you can do with certain caster ones. If I had to pick like a spell, like honestly, the spell it's not that it's bad at the moment. It's definitely good if you crank it high enough. But like, I really wish EK was like a little bit better because I really want to use EK.
It's actually a very meta EK build right now.
Well, EK is one of those things again where, you know, mechanically it's obviously insane. It just does damage all around your character and is a projectile and is a physical spell. It ticks all the boxes. It just doesn't quite feel like it has enough damage in most scenarios. But, you know, there's the reason aura stackers, you know, and that sort of build used it historically. It's because mechanically it's fantastic. Yeah. It just, you know, you have to get the damage. And I think in most normal scenarios now, it's really hard to get the damage.
I mean, you have to get your skin set up with Empower level 4 to push it to like level 33 or something, and then it's going to deal some okay damage.
Yeah.
It's just spells in current year, pretty much. There's a few exceptions, like Lightning Conduit or Seismic Whip, they feel good on a league start. But for a lot of other spells, you need some crazy good gear to make them feel good.
I'm convinced Lightning Conduit never feels good, because it's a 2-stage skill, and that's the enemy.
Well, it's about the damage, right? Not about the feel.
I had fun playing Lightning Conduit Gucci Hobo because that was my build.
Sure.
It felt very nice, but well, the bottom build, I guess.
Yeah. What about you, Legi?
The archetype that,
How dare you?
How dare you? Don't speak over me.
All right, go.
Right. So the archetype I really wanted to highlight that needs buffs regarding the question is I think channeling skills. Like, channeling skills are just sad at the moment, and they just need some damage, and I think that would be great.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna. I think they're just gonna be removed from the game, to be honest.
You think so?
Well, they removed the representation on the tree pretty much. I think that's just like step one of like channeling skills are gone.
Yeah,
I think there's some fucking back end limitation where they just can't figure out how to make them work. And like,
it's just so sad. It's just so sad for me. Like, there are some cool skills, like Incinerate is a great skill. Like Divine Ire is amazing skill, but they're just not strong enough. And I think that would be amazing to buff those.
I really like thematically the cast when channeling like 2 skill thing where it's like I did like cast when channeling Blight and it casted Soul Rend. Like cast when channeling Incinerate and it cast Firestorm. Like I like that thematically, really cool. But they just tend to have, like, the time spent, or, like, the links spent putting in that whole setup is almost always just worse than just putting in 2 damaging links.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it just feels like it's a waste of fucking time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the most annoying part for me, like, the saddest part is just, they need some damage love and some numbers love, and I think a lot of people play them. Like, that, for example, Spark. Spark was kind of only relegated to like aura suckers, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Because of mechanical skill, or like mechanical how it functions pretty much, right? But they crunked up the numbers, and like everyone's playing Spark on League Start now, and it's great. So
I want to see that with Firestorm. That's what I want to see. But they would have to literally just like double or triple some of the numbers and skills. I just think they're just too much of a pussy to do that, really. I don't think they're ever going to do that. Like,
yeah, that's the sad part, man. Like, just buff the stuff.
It's
too
just
strong.
Do not want to pull the trigger on, like... Yeah. I don't know what they're really afraid of. Like, what's the top-end scenario? Like, the worst case is it's the best skill, everyone uses it, and everyone has a great time. But, like...
One patch,
yeah,
and then nerf it.
But, like, what's the opposite? Just what we've had, where it's, like, the same stale kind of game state? Or they're giving 5% buffs every 2 months, and it's like, this is doing nothing. Like, what is, this is just not remotely enough. That's the part that's the craziest, is like, when they do buff these things, like, we've increased Firestorm's damage effectiveness from 400 to 425. It's like, that's not even in the ballpark of the amount of damage change you'd have to make for this to be usable. Which just, like, how there's such a huge disconnect from what would be required to usurp, like, the current best skills.
Yeah, 5% buff, but the Uber bosses are 100% harder. So yeah, like you said, it never catches up with like the contents. Sometimes on the difficulty side.
And then they're like, man, I don't know why everyone's using Doriani's. Well, it's like, well, this is fucking why. It's because, like, you've pigeonholed people into basically saying, if I want to play caster, I have to use this unique and I have to use this type of damage. Otherwise, I have no chance of doing the content. And that's, like, basically, then everyone's like, well, this just, you go to PoE Trade or Ninja and you see, you type in casters and it's like 99% using Doriani's. Well, it's like, well, that's what happens. I mean, it's like, in general, Path, like, people tend to find the best route for a build type. And it's, like, very, very, very obvious now what the best thing is. And it doesn't take long for every league for that to happen. So I just don't know why they're so afraid. Like,
for me, it's not even like finding the best possible skill, like with the highest damage. Like if the difference between like the best skill, as you're saying, Doriani lighting skill X, right, compared to I don't know, non-Doriani fire skill Z, right? If it's like, I don't know, 300% more damage or something like that, that just out of whack completely. Like, why is that?
Yeah, it's not even like you're saying. It's not that it's 20% better. It's like it's miles apart from the next best thing. Like, the gap is huge. It just gets bigger and bigger also. Which I guess kind of leads to one of the questions. Well, this wasn't a question here, I don't think so much. But what of what needs to be nerfed, like, you have things like Nightblade, right, that, like, has existed for, I don't even know how many leagues now, 3, 4? Where, like, numerically is, like, absurd looking compared to other supports, of just straight damage supports. I really don't think, like, things like Nightblade need to be nerfed. I just think everything else needs to be brought in line and better. Like, but I feel like that's just, like, kind of a pipe dream to say, like, they're not going to nerf that. They're going to nerf, buff everything else instead. I don't know.
I think it's not as easy as, only buffing the numbers, because, like, people are still going to gravitate towards the skills that work well mechanically and, like, deliver damage in a good way. But just do something instead of, leaving everything in the dirt. 3 feet.
You don't play Seismic for the 8th league in a row?
I don't think it can be disputed. There's like a ton of things they could do better balance-wise. They just apparently feel like it's not worth the time, and they're focusing their time on other things, right? Their resources,
like
which
Pass
supposedly
Mobile.
is probably PoE 2, or maybe it's the sick Atlas update or something. I don't know. Something they're doing that. Maybe it's hard mode. Yeah, they're developing hard mode 24/7. True. But yeah, the last couple leagues definitely have been a bit underwhelming balance-wise. Very underwhelming.
Yeah.
Because we had like way more shakeups in the past, right? Like, people are even complaining there's too many shakeups. Like, they're buffing this archetype and everyone plays it, but we haven't had that in so long.
Yeah. I feel like the people's, like, week 1 builds really kind of tell a tale. That's been, like, a very similar tale for a good chunk of time. Even post unique buff, they did, like, they nerfed Seismic substantially, if you like, on paper, right? But then you look at, like, them, how they buffed, like, Mings, and it kind of, like, not that it offsets it totally, but it's like it kind of brought it back in line to where it was a little bit. It's like, well, that didn't really change anything then. Not that was a bad thing for Mings to be good, but
yeah, but the unique change is definitely one of my highlights this league.
Yeah.
I hope they do this again next league. There's still a lot of uniques that are just kind of completely useless
about
right
1,000 of them, yeah.
Well, they've only done global drops this league, right? Maybe they're going to revisit some of the boss drops, like league drops.
There's not that many league drops anymore. They keep making them global.
Yeah, stuff like Metamorph and Blight. I was thinking of those kind of uniques that are very restricted.
I don't even think that those are, like, bad. I just think that they're just so hard to get realistically. You don't really get to mess with them so much. Like, I don't, things like Fury Valve is probably cool, but when's the last time you saw one naturally in League?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's just, you don't have time to mess with it. Obviously, Trade League would suss out if it's actually, like, the best thing in the game, but...
Yeah, to mention people farming Metamorph Scarabs to hunt for Fury Valve for profit.
Now, that's the future I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Speaking of future, there's another question talking about... There's a couple upcoming ARPGs. The person mentions Last Epic, Diablo 4, yada yada. What should developers for these games take away from Path? What are aspects of Path that they should try to copy in their own game? ARPGs are pretty similar, I think, as far as like the ideology of what feels good, what doesn't feel good. I think Path's biggest advantage of why there's really not much competition, or hasn't been for 8-10 years, is just because it has such a depth of content, and it also has such a strong fundamental base that it kind of was able to skate by for the past 5-6 years. Not that there hasn't been changes. I feel like the level of innovation in Path has kind of tapered off a little bit because they just, really no need to. They don't have a lot of they don't have any competition. But I mean, if Diablo 4 could just pretty much rip every idea from Path and put it in a Diablo shell, and it'd be a totally fine game. I'm not sure if they're going to do that, but to answer the question, what aspects of Path should those games try to take? Most of them, I guess. Most every idea.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so, most of them, because Path, as you said, is very strong as a base game, right? Mm-hmm. The systems and like the interconnected things with like base structure of PoE are pretty good and pretty solid. It's just the kinks and like some wacky stuff.
Inject a little quality of life. Inject a little fucking meta shifting.
Those things are people's problems with Path, but take the basics and people are gonna be good.
I think the big question that I think Path has not been able to answer anytime soon is, who is this game for? Which is a big question when you're balancing developing a game. Like, what do you want this? What chunk of people or what demographic would you like this game to appeal to? And Path has kind of tried to do all of it at once at the same time, which is why you get a lot of like conflicting things in the same game, or sometimes it gets a little muddy. I'm not sure what the answer is, like, as far as who Path should balance around, who Path should cater towards. It's like a real balancing act, which is, it's kind of a problem of their own creation. But
do you think it should be answered like that? Shouldn't be just game that has so many facets that everyone can enjoy?
Well, that's the other part, is like, if they just make a game that they think is good and whoever enjoys it will just play it. That's the other.
Yeah, I guess.
But which I think is exactly what they're doing now, right? That's like all the stances in general, right? It's like, this is what we want to do for our game. If you don't like it, kind of fuck off a little bit, and like, if you like it, then enjoy it.
What I think Path does really well, I think this is going to be kind of controversial, but I kind of like how random it is. Mm-hmm. Like, every league or every character feels different, especially SSF, I guess. In trade, you can oftentimes negate that by like getting the stuff you need, but the fact that crafting is so random and like IDing and upgrades are so random makes like playthroughs feel very different. And even in the trade league, honestly, like sometimes you have this league where you get like your lucky drop on day one, right? And like you skyrocket and in power, and it's just other ARPGs I've tried, it's just people praise it for its deterministic crafting, but it's just boring to me.
That's definitely, there's like a level of entropy that is like, I don't know if that's like a lightning could be rebottled by a different game, which is kind of like what you're saying, just like that like the nut factor that can exist in Path, basically.
Yeah, like the high roll possibilities, right?
Which also why, as you get really low, I mean, you could just have a plan etched out in a league start, and you could go through all the steps, and nothing can go better than just like base, and that also happens. That feels shit, but you don't live for those moments. You work through those moments to get to the nut. So
yeah, I mean, I kind of like statistics and probabilities in games, and PoE is perfect for that. It does it really well.
Yeah,
in both crafting, but also in like juicing and so on, right? Or building a character even.
A lot of it's like, especially with things like Craft of Exile, help to put things in perspective for like different routes you can take that might not be the most direct efficient. So for example, like, say I want to craft a jewel. It says numerically the best way to do this would be use prime resonators. But I don't want to use prime resonators. I would just want to scour elk it. Okay, so how many scour elks on average would this take? Okay, so 4,000. So really I have to farm 8,000 scour elks for me to hit the average of this happening. And it's like, well, I'd rather do that than do the delve thing. So I'm going to go farm 8,000 Scour so I can make this 1 jewel. Like, that level of kind of like throughput for like how you decide to go about things is the fun part. And that's where it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. For even the most minute decision can be like a week-long task of just like, I'm going to make this jewel. What's the best way? Well, I'm choosing the worst best way because it's my best way. And that's a whole thing, you know. And sometimes it's the first one.
What I meant by like not focusing on certain demographics, like certain player base, like it just make a big sandbox and people can choose what they like and just add more content and
dig through the sand. Sometimes you find a cat turd. Sometimes it's a diamond. Who knows?
Sometimes you find arch nemesis and sometimes you find ritual, according to Reddit.
It's honestly, that's one of the best things about PoE compared to other games. I think the whole sandbox aspect, that, like, you can pick 10 people and they play the game so differently, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Even on, like, streamers that play, like, a shit ton, they still play the game so differently. Like, compare me to, like, a hardcore streamer compared to, I don't know, a trade league streamer, right? Or, like, a casual streamer. Like, there's so many different facets of gameplay in PoE. Everyone experiences the game very differently.
Yeah.
It's not just like one playthrough that everyone experiences the same way. You know?
How about you, Easy?
Yeah, no, I mean, I could agree. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be able to have that multi-layered kind of approach, I guess, gameplay throughout Path of Exile versus other ARPGs. I mean, I think that's probably the reason why we're all still playing it, right? You know, if it was such a linear thing, again, maybe like a Diablo 3.
Followers.
There's just not much versatility to it, and once you've kind of done it, you've done it, right? So, yeah.
I mostly play Path for the anime titties. That's for me the number one thing.
I mean, they buffed that recently with Ghost Rive.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Ghost
Factor is going
if
up.
you didn't know, Ghost Rive on a Scion, when you turn on Arcane Cloak, makes your character naked. That's the thing that happens. So enjoy that. Maybe I can recreate it right now, actually. Hold on. I think I have a Scion.
Why is it only on Scion?
That's what I saw the demo on. Did my game just crash? Oh, Lord. We're living.
Yeah, Chris says censoring.
He's coming for my anime titties. No. I don't even have a Ghost Rive, I don't think, in standard, actually. Oh, no. Can I make one real quick? Do I have any body armor things? 100. I can hit Ghost Rive, right?
100 in a dream.
I mean, surely. It's like the most common. I think it's supposed to be. All for the titties. Here we go.
I'm
Ghost
gonna
Rive.
try on the witch.
No. Ghost Rive. No. 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 What the fuck? I feel like Cloak is probably kind of rare. I did this yesterday. I handed in 2 wand. Oh, there we go. Wand cards, and there was 2 void batteries back to back, which I was like, "What the fuck are the odds of that happening?" Probably not good.
50-50, right?
I guess
It either
so.
happens or it doesn't.
Well, I have an Astromentus somewhere. There we go. Okay. All right. Ghost Rive on. I'm covered in shit. Now I gotta get an Arcane. I think. Is it here? Is it here? Arcane Cloak.
Yeah, this is
Titties!
for all the people. This is for all the people that made it this far into the podcast, right?
You saw that? Look at that.
The real treat.
Hold on. Titties. Look at that. Oh my god. Are you watching Easy? You're missing out on the titties.
Peak
Oh,
PoE.
I'm watching.
Look at those goddamn melons. Wow. Don't
Yeah,
ban me,
yeah.
YouTube.
Back to people enjoy the game for different reasons.
Titties.
2 days. Yep.
Lordy. I'm glad this all worked out. I just probably wasted all these fucking... I could have had the next best body they introduced into the game. My sweet
You know what I'm
body
kind of
cards.
surprised by is how we haven't had news about the next leak yet. Isn't it about the time where they announce when they're going to announce it? Like the announcement of the announcement
I
of the
think they
announcement?
have to wait for peak anger to set in so they could start, trickling back. It's all very PR related. They know that their entire vocal player base is very upset. So what is the most optimal way to quell the neckbeards? The vocal people who are screeching. I imagine it's just wait as long as possible, and then sandbag the updates. It would be really cool. I'd be the most impressed. I'd be so impressed if they said fucking nothing until the release, live stream day. They didn't say a single thing. They're just like, this is coming out, the live stream is this day, then they don't say anything, and then just dump it all right there. I would have, the utmost respect, because I hate the announcements of the announcements. I think it's
Well, I'm just kind of wondering if there's going to be some unusual thing happening, like a delay or maybe an event, like a flashback or something.
Well, let's think.
Because it should be about this time where they announce these things, right? Either delays or events.
We're halfway through, so it's supposed to be December. The beginning? No, December 16th or 9th. One of the two would be the estimated league start, right?
No, it's like mid-November, isn't it? Didn't this league start in mid-August?
I don't know what numbers are. It could be.
Next league should start around mid-November. 5-6 weeks from now, right?
Well, we just passed the halfway point this week.
No.
Yeah.
Well, 7 weeks, right? Well, 7 weeks and a day in now, which is
I don't know what time it is. I'm looking at the titties again.
Next one should start in 6 weeks, which is mid-November, 22nd November or something.
Can I not have but a moment's respite? Titties. Well, either way, I mean, it'll be out whenever it's out. I'm sure it'll be a flawless launch with no backlash at all.
Surely. It's weird how this is objectively the worst league ever, and I don't like the league mechanic, but I'm still more motivated to play this league than other leagues somehow. Sentinel was objectively a better league, right? I think most people would agree.
Well, just if you look at, do you see the retention chart? It's it tells a very, very specific tale where it's Arch Nemesis tanks 10,000 players less on average for the same point of year. Then it spiked by 10k for Sentinel, and it went right back down 10 or 11k for this league. So it literally is just dictated by the fact that Arch Nem changes, introduction, and then changes were just not liked. Then Sentinel was good enough to push back the tide of Arch Nem hate, and recombinators. And then it's just, when that was gone, that was the dam wall broke, and then back we go. I was really surprised that recoms didn't make it into the game, to be honest. I thought that was...
Not yet, right? They might come back. I don't think they said they're going to be gone forever.
I think the post they made said no plans to introduce them anytime soon or something along those lines. But
really,
regardless, I just thought they were going to be added. I was pretty sure, because I was this is a really, on average, non-offensive thing. It's if people in Trade League can spend, all the time they want making close to, if not, mirror tier items as they should. That's what that sort of setting is about. People in SSF could just slam recoms and then rip their items left and right until they make something, worthy. It was it was not really. It was deterministic, but not. It had a very high. Obviously, I wish Iron was here for this conversation, but there was a lot of science behind it. However, more likely than not, on the average scenario, you're ruining your item basically, or getting close to ruining it, or setting yourself back at least. So it felt really fair for the casual use case.
It was a big sink of items, right? You used
a
lot of resources and things to make it.
It also promoted identifying, which is a very hard thing to get players to do. Realistically, it's very hard to get players to want to pick up and identify. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is it was the peak vision. I mean, it was IDing, every single one-hand sword to try to see if you can hit Tyrannical. It's that was never happened before. And then they removed it. I was what in tarnation? We came so close to it was a perfect juxtaposition between deterministic and just gambling and crafting and item sync. It was honestly one of the most perfect mechanics I thought we had for crafting. Really could have been the most path way of crafting ever could have been. And they're like, "Nah, this is
Agree.
this. We'll just scrap it. It's fine." Okay.
One thing about the Recombinators, the fact that Iron did so much science on it and published it so early in the league, like that basically buffed the Recombinators, right? Like
Yes.
the fact that we know how they work is such a huge buff. If you played the league blind and didn't know about the whole like inner workings of Recombinators and how to min-max them, they would have been so much weaker and way more balanced.
Especially for Trade League, especially because they gobbled that shit up. I bet you it wasn't as prevalent amongst SSF players because they just probably didn't have the resources to like, maybe utilize it to the fullest. But anyone who was correct recombing for mirror tier, recombing for profit, it was like the Bible basically was printed.
Yeah. Maybe Iron is the reason we don't have him. If they were
True.
perceived as
Name Iron.
worse,
Thanks,
maybe
Iron.
they would still be in the game.
He is the Diabetes King. That is his name. Too much sugar intake.
To be fair, I didn't like the sensor mechanic at all, though. Like maybe that's why I didn't like the league. But
I like
the management of
Pandemonium.
these-
And Apexing
They were
Exile
fun
was
to use
fun.
in maps, but like every time I had to like combine them again in my hideout, I wanted to quit the league. The whole management of all these power cores and that stuff.
The key was to not care about the rolls whatsoever. Just
Yeah, that's what I
basically
ended up
refresh
doing.
them. I clicked them when I ran out. I got a new one and I refreshed it. Didn't give a
Exactly,
shit
yeah.
when it rolled. There was I had a lot of fun apexing the Ghost of Exiles though. That was like real little fucking pinatas. That was a lot of fun. And Pandemonium I still think was probably just the best overall. On like popping an expedition or an incursion and hitting a Pandemonium was like super juiced. That was good. It just felt like Torment plus player agency, like the concept of Torment kind of.
Definitely very good, yeah.
But it was like up to us. It's really upsetting, honestly, talking about Sentinel and Recombinators and that league in general, retrospectively. Not that we didn't appreciate it, but like sandwiched between Archnem and Kalandra, it feels like a real turd sandwich, like.
I mean, Kalandra, the whole league mechanic is only just a unique map. It's just a league. Like they could just be a single unique map, and the league is done, right? That's pretty much it.
I think it probably could be like the least impactful league mechanic I've ever seen, like since New Age league mechanics. Obviously, not like Rampage, but like since they've started making actual mechanics, I think it's gonna be the least impactful, least involved. It's like you said, it's just a unique map.
Just make one zone and reuse assets of bosses and exiles, put them in a tile. Yep. Just kind of whatever.
And they just if they just didn't add that unique ring, I would not be playing this league at all. I don't think.
Wait, isn't this exactly what they're gonna do? Actually, they're gonna put Kalandra into the main game as a unique map that rolls like a random 10 tiles or something, and then you get a random reflected, like one reflection per lake, but not the one where you can reflect your own gear. That would be too strong. But he's gonna give you like a random rare item per map, which can be good, I guess.
Can't wait.
Only way to get minus lightning rescue and so on.
Can't wait.
And it can be the Kalandra's touch, like once every 10,000
Surely.
unique maps.
Surely.
Can't wait.
Oh, that's gonna happen.
We're getting kind of. I guess we're on the 2-hour mark. Do you guys want to briefly talk about? I don't know if Easy, are you going to ExileCon?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I got tickets. I'm getting pretty excited about it. Yeah, it's gonna be a great trip. I'm gonna try to spend, maybe a week or a couple weeks over there, and maybe try to hit Australia too. But New Zealand's always been a bucket list trip of mine, and spending so much time in Path of Exile, I mean, it just seems like the perfect, the perfect storm, right?
Yeah, definitely like the catalyst for you taking the plunge.
I'm pretty jealous. That sounds great.
Yeah. If I wasn't getting married like a month after when it's supposed to be, I probably would go. But it's a little too close for me. It's
Mary there.
what?
It's Mary over there.
I have to ship over 150 people. Then that's it's a little much. It's I mean, New Zealand's. I would definitely like. I'm gonna go see fucking the Hobbit. Go see that Hobbiton. Go steal some of Frodo's shoes or something. I don't think he wears shoes. Looks like a really cool place to be, just like in general.
Yeah, and I'm by no means like an opera fan or something, right? But like I've always wanted
Sydney
to also
Opera
go to, like
House?
the
Yeah.
Sydney Opera House, right? Like I mean, it's just right across the way. So I think that'd be pretty monumental.
Right across the way. It's like probably 2,000 kilometers away, but yeah.
Is
I
it?
guess so.
I don't
Isn't it
think
pretty
kilometers are real measurements. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
for American like standards, it's probably not that far.
Like how many hot dogs? Like that's how we measure.
It's like 3.
3 hot dogs? That's
I'd
nothing.
say 3. Yeah.
That's nothing.
Like anything that's like a 2-hour drive, or it feels like ages away for me. That's just European things.
The concept of every time I talk to some EU person, they're always like, "Oh, I had to go across Germany today. It was 2 hours." I'm like, "Bitch, Texas is like 14 hours to get across just like a
Yeah.
city." Like, what are you talking about? You and your wackadoodle Candyland nations.
But yeah, no, because
Big
yeah,
easy
the
mode.
only other place I went kind of like that was like the Elphilharmonic. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's in Germany, Manny. Maybe you know. I think it's in Hamburg. The Elphilharmonic. It's like supposed to be like
Yeah.
an acoustically perfectly tuned building.
Yeah, I
went.
think I know what you mean.
Yeah. That was pretty cool stuff. So yeah, but overall, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for ExileCon. I've got an IRL friend that's not in the Path of Exile kind of community going, as well as some friends from Guild. So, and then I know Iron's going as well, I believe, with his family. So it'll be nice. I'm pretty excited.
If it just wasn't on the opposite side of the planet and wasn't very expensive to fly, I would probably go in general.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like,
It's expensive.
I mean, realistically, going to New Zealand from the U.S., it's thousands of dollars, like, easily.
Same
Yeah,
for
I looked
Europe.
up the
It's even
flights
further from Europe, isn't it?
EU, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 3,000 fucking euros one side flight or something like that. It's not great.
Hopefully the entire nation just sinks and they'll just relocate. Ideally, Fingers crossed. That could be the next league, Atlantis League. New Zealand underwater.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, Kalandra has sunk.
It's true. Yeah, what? Anything else you guys want to think about before we wrap this bad boy up?
Not really. Good luck to you guys for your collection efforts. I think we're all kind of back to collecting this league.
Yes.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, and yeah, Lighty, thanks for getting everyone together. And yeah, best of luck on the unique grind. +1.
Yay.
Yep.
Go team.
Good piece.
Also, yeah, just I guess that we briefly mentioned. I don't know let me just double check the exact total. But we did end up raising a nice little chunk of money for the charity. I think it was close to once we log in. You son of a bitch.
I think it was 1.5k.
1,500. Yeah, $1,540 for the charity,
Awesome.
which is pretty cool. That'll make someone who's disabled able to play some game. Probably not Path of Exile. There was that one
Hopefully
guy.
not.
Like so.
There was that one guy who played hardcore Path using like an air tube, and he like was farming like Uber Labs and shit with his fucking mouth tube. I don't know if he played anymore, but yeah, there was
Some people like crazy talent.
yeah, and that's what the charity did. That they just had all that stuff. Also, we have to if you didn't, we got some drawings to do.
True.
9 drawings we have to make in general.
I don't know if that's a reward or a punishment for whoever gets the picture. But
It's true. So, congrats to all 9 of you. You'll get some shit to your picture at the very least. Keep it personal, but by bank up. What is this? What is this message? I don't even know. That seems like a scam. I don't know what's happening there. Person wrote some weird message on their thing. All right, cool beans. Okay, so I think we'll probably do another one of these, like whenever they do their announcement trailer.
yeah,
In 4 months from now.
soon, surely.
I think we're gonna get Legacy League 2 over here. We're gonna get 8 months of Kalandra.
I'd be
We can
down.
finish our collection then.
Oh, that'd be pretty close. I mean, if we pushed like crazy, I bet you we can get pretty close. I mean, you would have to do cards for replica beta. Maybe if you got really lucky, you can get one naturally. But
Yeah, man. Legi me 2 away each. So we can farm 2 cards, surely.
Yeah, I've dropped 2 this
Maybe
league,
it's pretty
so
easy.
even with the nerfs to the cards and stuff, but I've dropped 2 this league, so.
Live
But I
life
mean,
in
I've
the
ran like
it's
1,000
just strands,
plus
right?
strand.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000 plus strands. So.
Good. Strand it
I
up.
think it's the touch of Kalandra would be the the copium.
That's my goal. I just want to. I don't even know if it's possible. It might literally take thousands of lakes, but
Yeah, I'm a dedicated lake builder now as well.
so yeah, it's. Which I'm not sure exactly. You should send me your tree that you're doing for whatever lake stuff, and because
Pay me.
I think you should pay me. What'd you say?
Nah, nothing.
I'm almost. What'd you guys challenges at, by the way? Have you even tried to do challenges?
Pretty much done. I have to do a chaos recipe, I think, and I'm done.
The chaos
Yeah,
recipe.
pretty much the same. Yeah, haven't done chaos recipe either.
I haven't really tried too hard, except for this blight one. I've done 4 blight ravage maps, and every time I've corrupted them, they've lost mods. So I have to keep doing this, which is a thing.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky on everything. Everything's just kind of finished on its own while I was farming things that I needed for my builds.
Yeah, I'll probably have to try for a couple, but you two can look like a cool, sparkly boy eventually. All right, that's it. Everyone, go home. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
whatever, and
Thanks for listening.
yeah,
And titties, I guess.
we'll see you in next league. Any name predictions for next league?
Heist 2.
Heist
Redemption.
2. Redemption. That's
Redemption. I like that.
Let's say what's a good shit word. I'm gonna look at this Tums I have next to me. Maybe it'll give me some prescription. That's not a good one. Symptom.
Pharmacy has arrived in rare
It
class.
says symptom. That's my guess. Symptom League.
That's a good one, actually.
Maybe it's like some sort of virus. I don't know. All right, that's it. We're free. Bye bye.